Here is Howard, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods rips it off for Baylor. Inside the 10 and a first and goal for the Bears on our first turnover.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Over the middle, he's got a man in stride, and walking into the end zone is Josh Fleeks with the touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Looking to the end zone, he's got a man. Touchdown! R.J.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here's Elliott. He will get it. Touchdown Dallas as Elliott fought for it and has his 6th of the year.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Tuesday afternoon. All sorts of news. Oh, shockingly, in college football. This is 365 Sports on YouTube and Sikkim 365 Radio as well. The ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 Alliance announcement about many things. Also, not any word really about the Big 12. However, there was a tweet from Max Olson, the Athletic, when, there were 2 or 3 or 10 quotes from the ACC commissioner about how they needed the Big 12 to be good and be a part of the Power 5, and we need them, but yet they're not a part of this. I don't know what it means. It was released today, a lot of digestion over the words. In the end, to me, is this a scheduling thing? Is this a turf war? Does it really matter what we saw today?
Yeah, I think it'll matter some, but I don't think it matters as much as people thought it was going to, the last couple of days. I think there's a lot to be sorted out here. First things first, and I guess one of the commissioners did get a follow-up question about the Big 12 and why they were not included, and basically the answer was because there's too much uncertainty with the Big 12 right now. What are you going to – are you adding these 8 teams? Did some of these 8 teams have other plans? There's so much up in the air with the Big 12 right now. Oklahoma and Texas aren't leaving yet. You know what I mean? They are probably leaving after this year. We all assume they're leaving after this year, but technically, based on the contracts, they are still locked up for another 5 years. So I think until that gets sorted out or some teams jump ship, which, again, the Pac-12 has let us know even more of a timeline on that now, then, I think they're just kind of playing wait and see. But, they talked about they didn't sign a contract, so this is all just a verbal agreement, and that would make me feel a little bit uneasy given the current landscape of college athletics, but that was an interesting note. There's a scheduling piece that you mentioned, but yeah, a lot of this appears right now is it's not so much about expansion as it is legislation and scheduling opportunities, and I'm sure there has to be some other things involved here, but yeah, I don't want to say it was a nothing burger, but it definitely wasn't like this monumental announcement And not even because it was spoiled that they were going to have an announcement. Like, even if they would have come out today and no one knew they were going to talk until 5 minutes beforehand, I still think people would have watched that press conference and go, okay, like, all right. I don't think it changes a ton, honestly.
Paul, when the NCAA came out a week ago with their deal on Baylor, when I walked in the door, you said it was a big nothing burger. Is this a nothing burger?
It's a bigger something burger than the NCAA.
It's a double cheeseburger?
But it's not. When they say they don't have an agreement, that would make me nervous because –
well, they have verbal agreements, but nothing
contract.
Written, no contract.
No contract, which means to me that, because there are 3 schools here in the catbird seat in this whole thing, and that would be USC, Michigan, and Ohio State, that are big enough to go and have TV contracts enough to go, well, here's what we'd like to do. And, so if they're not signed on the dotted line, I'm not sure if this is worth the handshakes that have been made. I don't think it's a nothing burger. It confuses me more because if it's about legislation, and look, I like to think that I know a lot about politics. Smokey, you know me. I would think at the very least that if it's about legislation, you would want 8 more people in your corner.
Jim Phillips said on no binding contract, it's about trust. We've looked each other in the eye and made it an agreement.
Yeah. Come on now.
There was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement in the SEC about teams in your same state too, right?
He also said in regards to the no contract that they didn't put anything really specific in their press release because if they don't promise anything, it guarantees they can deliver on all their promises, something along those lines. I think somebody was paraphrasing there, but that was the basic gist of it. So, I don't think it's a nothing burger. I think obviously this has some ramifications, but I think if you were hoping that the SEC was going to see the press conference today and be shaking in their little boots, that is not the case. I think that the reaction has been the opposite. I think most of the SEC people that I've seen are just like, whatever. I keep going back to that whatever, but that's kind of how it feels. And there wasn't a lot of information provided outside of the bare bones of what this is supposed to mean. What is there to even really talk about? Because we don't even know really what the goals are going to be. Like we think we know. We think it's going to be voting and things like that, but that's not going to be a daily deal.
It is 41 schools.
No, it's not a nothing burger, but it's not a double cheeseburger dripping with cheese either.
I expected more. I expected a little bit more details rather than just kind of almost like they called the press conference because they said they were going to call one. Kliavkoff did mention that they will have some sort of an announcement perhaps by the end of the week when it comes to anything with their conference elsewhere outside of the scheduling. Armstrong, I just sent you a link to Max Olson's tweet about the Big 12 talking to the ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips, if you have time to pop that up.
One big thing is apparently, the Pac-12 is going to have a decision on expansion by the end of the week. That was the latest that I just saw here in the last 30 minutes, and I'll need to track that tweet down. But, apparently somewhere in this press conference and all these quotes, there was talk about an expansion decision coming soon. I saw a lot of Pac-12 people that said, they're expecting nothing. I saw some say they're expecting Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. And we know what Dave Wanstead said today. He set the whole dadgum day off
we're
with
ready to hear from him.
Giant bomb. But, it's very interesting, and I think people are still sort of kind of trying to figure all of this out.
Yeah, from Sooner JJ, the alliance is like a group of jilted guys who have made a pact to swear off women, which last until the first pretty girl walks by.
Yeah, and I saw somebody else say that it basically felt like a reactionary move, which of course it was. They weren't going to have this alliance if there was no Texas-Oklahoma change. So this was absolutely a response, but it's not the response that I think it was maybe made out to be early on.
All right, here's the quote from Jim Phillips of the ACC. We got that up, Armstrong? We want and need the Big 12 to do well. The Big 12 matters in college athletics. The Big 12 matter in Power 5 athletics. In other words, but we can't do anything with them because they're trying to hold their thing together to save money because they need to get paid by Texas and Oklahoma, and we really can't talk to them right now.
But
if they mean something, why would they not have been a part of this where at least that conference, if in fact anything ever does happen, has something that they can have for traction.
I mean, the first part of your statement to me would be the optimistic way of looking at it if you're a Big 12 fan of, well, if this could be looked at in any way as to entering into a new conference agreement, then that would allow Texas and Oklahoma to leave, then okay, then maybe that's what that is. But also, like, if the Big 12 matters, then why aren't they a part of this? I mean, why aren't you saying it? Because, again,
I wonder, though, is it because
paper.
of that they're stuck? They can't really do anything because they want to make sure they don't give Oklahoma and Texas an out, and yet they can't really be proactive because they're stuck.
But if nothing's on paper, then I mean, why can't
the only way they're not stuck is if they don't involve the Big 12 and the Big 12 waits out Oklahoma and Texas for that money, and then when these TV contracts come up right about that same time, then all hell's really breaking loose, because I mean, such a large part of this we know is having to do with the playoff and the movement forward of the playoff. They basically all said at this point that they feel like the SEC and ESPN were in bed together and we're secretly bringing along Texas and Oklahoma, and then hey, we have Texas and Oklahoma. You know what's a great idea? Let's have 12 playoff teams. That's basically what they are saying. The SEC was orchestrating, and that they are somehow intervening and putting a stop to it. I think the playoff thing is definitely derailed for the time being, but we know the TV networks normally have a great deal of say, and when they let the cat out of the bag like they did, I don't think you're going to see fans or even administrators wanting to wait 6 years or 5 years to redo this playoff thing. I think that's going to probably have to come sooner rather than later, but yeah, this is their big response. I mean, I feel like you could have said nothing to the press and all gone on and made the same decisions without having to orchestrate a press conference and call it an alliance and do all of those things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, is the Pac-12? So the Pac-12 said by the end of the week they will have an announcement. By the end of this week, they will have an announcement on expansion, apparently. So yeah, do they go and pluck Oklahoma State and Texas Tech like somebody has said today? And then the Big 12 starts to crater, and then the SEC gets what they want? That's not what this alliance wants. But does this alliance also still want to look at an expansion? Like, those are the questions that we don't have any really indication on.
We will hear from former Baylor quarterback Nick Florence, who's now a part of their fundraising group at 4:15 today. Craig's off the radar at 4:45. We'll have David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com at 5. And Chris Fanini, TheAthletic.com, wrote a pretty thorough article about UCF and all of what they're putting, like $300 million or so in facilities and what they need to, hey, by the way, we're here. Don't forget about us. And so we'll hear from Chris today at 5:30. We'll have Max Olson on, not probably today, but at some point this week, of course. Tomorrow, UT San Antonio's Jeff Traylor, the head coach. And then also tomorrow we'll hear from the head coach at Coastal Carolina. So those are on tap for tomorrow. Now, what Craig mentioned earlier, Dave Wanstead. Paul, have you heard this audio?
I mean, yeah, I recorded
Chicago Sports Talk Station 670, The Score, where he, of course, was a coach, former Miami assistant, former Miami head coach with the Dolphins, under Jimmy Johnson with the Cowboys, Pittsburgh. You know the story. He's on Fox Sports now. And I reached out to Dave Wanstead. I have his number from times he's been on this show. But so he threw this out. Now, listen to what he actually says, because he says a lot, and he does throw out some scenarios. But I still, and this is not because I don't want to believe him. If it's true, it's true. I don't really care now what happens. Just something happened. But it does seem as if there's a lot of he said, she said in this comment. It's about a minute long with Dave Wanstead.
But I was told, I was at the Fox meetings in in Phoenix a week ago, and we were talking, and a lot of the Big Ten people were all there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the Big 12, and you hit it, Molly, right on the head. The Big 12, we know that Oklahoma and Texas are gone. And for any of our listeners, it sounds like Oklahoma State and Kansas State are going to the Pac-12. So that's done. It sounds like West Virginia is going to end up in the ACC, which would make sense with Virginia, Pitt, everybody there. And it sounds like but Iowa State and Kansas are going to join. They're the two schools that are going to probably join the Big Ten here locally.
Wow.
And so it's there'll be a few schools, the Texas Techs and TCUs, that right now no one knows what they're going to do. But Unfortunately, and this is what it said that the Big 12 is talking, we're all together on this, but they're not. It's really when that thing happened with Texas and Oklahoma, everybody's pretty much on their own, and I think this news today just verifies it and makes it real clear now that there's no Big 12 being mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, well, and that's true until the press conference when they at least got a little bit of a mention. So 254-339-1122, your thoughts, comments, opinions, phone calls, text messages, chat rooms blowing up from this and many other things. Ryan, Paul,
so
I go ahead.
I mean, do you have thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I was going to, this
Okay.
was a question about the same thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I put some stock into it, but I don't think Dave Wanstead's going to be the guy that breaks open all of the details of expansion. I kind of doubt, I mean, I know like at conferences and stuff, just little side conversations can happen. I don't know that that's just a conversation that's being had, with Dave Wanstead in earshot. Maybe it is. Maybe they didn't think he'd be on radio days later and saying all that he heard. But that didn't sound like concrete facts. That sounded like a guy who heard stuff just like I've heard stuff, just like y'all have heard stuff, just like everybody in the chat room's heard stuff.
He could have been sitting down with Joel Klatt talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way that came out earlier, it sounded as though he was on the super inside and he was breaking this news. And then when I actually hear him talk, he just kind of sounds like everybody else that's speculating, but maybe with perhaps a little bit more of an inside track. I'll say what really throws me for a loop, though, is the predictions of where people land. I mean, I am all for the idea that Oklahoma State could go to the Big 12. Why on earth, no disrespect to the folks in Manhattan, much respect for you guys, but why on earth, if they were to take two teams, it would be Tech and K-State to the Pac-12? That makes no sense. That makes absolutely Oklahoma State and K-State. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Oklahoma State makes perfect sense, but K-State doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know what they add to the Pac-12, and it's not the state of Kansas in TV viewers. The West Virginia to the ACC, I mean, we've been hearing about that since the beginning, and nobody seems to really have a good knack for what the ACC really wants, so that doesn't seem like a foregone conclusion. And then KU and Iowa State to the Big Ten. Kansas I can absolutely see. Iowa State, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure what that does for the Big Ten brand. So I'm a little bit hesitant to dive all in and think that, this is absolutely where we're headed right now. That's just me, though.
Yeah, and again, Dave Wanstead's not going to be the guy. Like, these are Big Ten people talking about it, but, I mean, you nailed it, Craig. Kansas State? I mean, you're going to take the school from the state of Kansas over any one of the schools from Texas? I mean, and again, when most of the viewership, most of the population, not even viewership, most of the population of your conference lives in Texas.
If he had said Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, I'd be like, you know what? He's probably onto something. But then again, that's also been a rumor the entire time, is that if the Pac-12 is going to take anybody from the Big 12, it would make the most sense because the no religious affiliation and all.
No different than what we've heard from you or what we've told you or what we've had our own opinions, and that's respectful to you, but I didn't hear this is what they said. Now, the Pac-12 commissioner just said there might be announcements by the end of the week on any kind of expansion or whatever realignment, with this conference. And so maybe that could be something that Dave Wanstead was talking about. 254-339-1122. Let's go with the calls.
All right, let's go to Chris in Missouri on the Bet US caller line. Chris, thanks.
Is what the hell is Bob Bowlesby doing? And I would like to know the same thing. I would love to be able to fill people in on what the thought process is in the Big 12 right now with upper management. But honest to God, guys, I have no idea. I have no idea what Bob Bowlesby's plans are. We heard the Oliver Luck thing yesterday, and Grayson asked me about it this morning. I'm like, I don't see what major difference it really makes, honestly, at this stage. I don't know what bringing Oliver Luck in really does unless you're just trying to settle the waters. But outside of that, we've had the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC now had their little press conference today. We know the SEC is all over the place and constantly in the news. And the Big 12, ever since Bowlesby's big words against ESPN about the lawsuit, we have not heard from him since. And that's been, 2-3 weeks now at this point?
At least, yeah.
And all this stuff's going on, and they're just not saying anything in the Big 12. So, what the hell is going on right now? I can understand having to keep some things under wraps, and there's certain conversations that the public shouldn't be privy to, but just throw out some hope for some team. I mean, send a flare out to your 8 teams to at least let them know some of what's going on right now, because Everybody else is making moves or talking about making moves or in the process of making moves. And as best as we can tell, the Big 12 is just kind of waiting to see what happens. And that's why they're the Big 12, and that's why they're where they are right now.
And that could be because of what he said about ESPN, and he might have to just sit down and kind of be patient, even though it's hard to be that right now.
Yeah, and that's fair too. I mean, there might not be a lot that he can say, but there's certainly not a lot of faith right now in Big 12 leadership, I'll tell you that.
Before we get back to – go ahead, Paul. Yeah. Before we get back to a call, a couple of text messages.
Yeah, I want you to read this one from Shooter because I have an answer for him.
How many times have they, whoever they is, but we understand what you're saying, predicted the death of the Big 12? How many times have we survived? How many times have we emerged stronger?
Okay, many times on that, but I could make a strong argument that at no point has the Big 12 ever emerged stronger from any of this.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
not even when they said they were.
I mean, not like, because if they had emerged stronger at the last time when, you know, they lost to A&M in Missouri and brought in TCU in West Virginia, stronger wasn't necessarily the case. They were more equitable when it came to revenue sharing. That was the only difference, because stronger was bullcrap. And we've seen that in the way that they, you know, treated Baylor, and not that Baylor didn't need to have scrutiny, but the way that it was, I mean, the absolute onslaught onto this is a Baylor problem and not a larger problem. And secondarily, and that's not sour grapes for somebody who covers Baylor, that's just how it was. And secondarily, if everything was strong and good and emerged stronger, then Oklahoma and Texas wouldn't have done this behind everyone's back. So, I mean, like, you know.
Yeah, so let's see. How many teams have left the Big 12 now? Counting Oklahoma and Texas. You have Missouri, Colorado, A&M.
6.
Yeah, so 6 teams.
It originally started with 12. Half of them will be gone at some point in the next year or 4.
And think about a conference.
They've added West Virginia. They added TCU.
Yeah, but think about a conference that had Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, OU, Texas, and through your inaction, Texas and Texas A&M.
Arkansas. Well, no, Arkansas was never a part of that.
But Texas A&M, Texas, Colorado, Nebraska, Missouri, you had all these teams, and you've managed to lose all of them. You've managed to lose every single one of them over the last, 20 years. And in doing so, you've only added TCU and West Virginia. It's, It speaks volumes that you don't see that happening anywhere else. You see maybe smaller schools coming up. You see, Rutgers moving up to the Big Ten. But you don't see conferences just milking valuable assets like the Big 12 has time and time and time again. And the thing is, this time is they lost so many valuable assets because every team that's left is more valuable than the ones remaining, right? I mean, all of them. Missouri, I don't know where, maybe Colorado and, Kansas are similar in some ways or something like that. But, I mean, for the most part, they lost their 6 most valuable franchises, replaced them with 2 far lesser value franchises, have not brought in any more valuable franchises, and now they're down to the absolute nitty-gritty. So, I mean, it's just an absolute disaster of...
There hasn't been a blue chip that's replaced somebody who left.
No, and there's not one to go get.
West Virginia's pretty good. I've enjoyed them as being someone who covers the Big 12.
I know I was ranting now. Going back to that caller, but yeah, this is different because now there's no Texas and Oklahoma.
No.
There's no big dog to fall back on or rely on. That's why this is way different.
Mike George, the key to what Wanstedt was saying, and it kind of alluded to this, but was the multiple use of the word probably, which is reminiscent of a poster on a message board saying the same thing, level 1, 2, or 3 source.
Yeah.
All right.
Reading it was one thing, hearing it was another.
All right. From 865, these mega conferences, what's going to happen when the super conferences like Oklahoma or Powers and Alabama have down years due to a stronger, tougher conference schedule? We mentioned this yesterday. Somebody has to pay for adding 2 blue bloods. And it might be one of them. It might not be either one of them. It might be even more so those in the midsection or lower levels of the SEC. It might be Arkansas even more. It might be someone who knows. Auburn?
Missouri?
I don't know. Missouri? Could it be even someone else? Could it be A&M or could it be Georgia? Even all the money and power and facilities and all that, somebody's got to pay. But again, it could be those also who are the ones joining, whether 1, 2, or neither. Someone's got to lose more games because of what you brought in, and it could even be those who you don't think it will be. 254-339-1122.
All right, BJ from Denver, you're on Sikkim 365 Radio on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I just want to talk about a few things, and primarily the Alliance. I'm a Florida State alumni myself. I just live here in Colorado. But I do think the Alliance today, what I took from it was this is probably the first step in potentially breaking away from the NCAA. Because when you have that number of schools kind of in sync or would like to be in sync, it just seems like it's a slow, methodical process to eventually break away.
Yeah. BJ, what year? Florida State, by the way.
2002.
Oh, me too. We walked together.
Probably walked past each other a few times.
Nice.
What's your cell number? Let me see if it's in your phone. Hey, BJ, thanks for the
Did
call.
he have something else?
Go war chant, all that other stuff as well. Anything else? You said you had 2 or 3 things.
And the second thing is, I do think the Big 12 is a viable product, but I think the issue with the Big 12 is lack of leadership. And I'm not a Bowlesby hater or anything, but it just seems like he's reactionary and he's just like a step too slow. Mm-hmm. And there's a phrase that I was always told is, if you're not evolving, you're dissolving. Mm-hmm. And I just think that maybe a change in leadership will greatly improve the Big 12 going forward.
Very interesting. And that's what, again, we had some discussion. A couple of people mentioned on the chat room about Oliver Luck, who's been around college football. One of the things about him is he's also been around a lot of jobs because he's never really been one place one time very long. But no extra eyeballs and extra ears never hurts, or experience. And so we'll see. Thanks for the call, BJ. Thanks for your time. Go Florida State. Seminoles open with Notre Dame. Ought to be an interesting barometer game for them. If they're better, and could be for Notre Dame, of course, and they're a top 10 team.
Yeah, I saw this from Nicole Auerbach, the exact quote from George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner. I'll commit that we're going to announce our decision about whether or not to expand before the end of the week. Those are his exact words.
Whether or not we're going to expand.
Yes.
Not that we will expand.
Whether or not to expand before the end of the week. And so, they're not guaranteeing they're going to expand. And it's hard to tell who actually knows something on Twitter and who really doesn't. And the blue check mark doesn't always tell you because there's plenty of fools with those. But there are Pac-12 people that are like, hey, it's not going to be expansion. They're going to stay pat. And then there's some that believe, no, they're going to add 4 teams, and so who the heck knows? But good news is we'll at least know by the end of the week. And I do think, to his point, that this could be setting up to break away. I mean, that's something that's been talked about for a long time now, and I'm kind of wondering, what happens if there's a bit of a civil war here? If there's an SEC ESPN side, and then there's this other side, and what that could ultimately turn into if there's a lot of bad blood. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get too crazy, but is there almost 2 different college football leagues at some point in time?
Mike George just said this. This is going to come down, as you were saying that, to a college football civil war between the SEC, ABC, ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC, CBS, and the remaining whoever is left in the Power 5 conferences plus Notre Dame.
Yeah. And what did he also say? The wild card is going to be the streaming networks and who they align. I mean, and that's exactly that's funny that you texted that right as I was talking, but that's how I see it too. That's absolutely how I see it. I'm not saying I think it's a guarantee to happen, but it does seem like there are sides being set up here, and if they don't jive, they don't technically all have to continue playing. You know what I mean?
No.
Man.
I want to redo Shooter TX, Paul. I know we got a couple of calls. He goes, you minced my last text, so I'll try another. I read it. I thought word for word. Does anyone really believe that there will be a scenario where Baylor is not a Power 5, but Wake and Syracuse, Rutgers and Oregon State, etc., have a seat at the table?
Syracuse,
that would be a horribly illegitimate system, Shooter TX. No, I have. It's not because I cover them. Listen, I haven't lost any sleep because of this. It doesn't affect me. We're going to cover the hell out of wherever they are, whoever they are, what conference, whoever they. But I just have a feeling somehow they're still going to be in that 60 range of teams that are Power 5, and they would not be left out of that number. They won't be.
And for those,
and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, and hey, I'm not sitting here losing sleep over it. I have nothing. There's no reason for me to. I can't do anything about any of this except for just wake up every day and see what the latest news is. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a concern, and I think if you're Baylor fans, you're absolutely nervous right now. But I think there's other fan bases in the Big 12 you're nervous too, and I can see that scenario. I can see that scenario if they are to, let's say the Pac-12 adds 2 teams, and it's, say, Tech and Oklahoma State, and then they say, we're done, well, then there's still 6 teams sitting there that need a place to go, right? So is that the AAC? Are they, so yeah, that's absolutely, positively. And those other schools you mentioned, they're already locked in with their conferences. So they might not be ideally the blue chip programs or whatever, but they have something, whether it be academics or market like Syracuse or just already contractually obligated to be in the conference that is helping them out. But hey, to our Noel caller, what was our Noel caller's name? BJ. 100% spot on about Bowlesby. He's not a visionary. I think Greg Sankey is somebody who looks at the future 10, 15, 20 years out. I think some other conference commissioners probably do that as well. I think that's what the 3 talking today have realized is like, hey, we probably need to start being more forward thinking. And yeah, one of his great faults is just a lack of looking into the future and looking past like the 3 inches in front of his face.
Yeah. What he's really good at is dissecting the problems of the now.
Yes.
Like he's very good at that. But that now hasn't translated into what's going on at the Big 12.
All right, we have to take a break. It's 3:30. We got so much to get to. We knew that the Alliance story would be a big deal. Dave Wanstead's audio, which we had, would be a big deal. And all of you have so many different comments, opinions, questions. We're going to get to all of that. We'll try to get to as many as we can in this first hour. 254-339-1122 is the number to call, and this is Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pickup Outfitters on Lake Air Drive. Jay Errett, the owner. What they do is they put stuff on your car, SUV, minivans, but really a lot of what they have available when it comes to pickup trucks. They are incredible when it comes to pickup truck and other accessories for your vehicle. Bumpers, grill guards, and much more. Bump steps, things. They have the step that you can add into it. Let's say you have a car that it's a little bit higher than you thought, and there's not one of those steps that pulls out when you open up the door. They can help you with that. There was a car I had before the one I have now where it was to get back into the area that was the back of the car, it was hard for some reason the way the car was built. It was a 2001 Tahoe. He got me a little bump step. It's like just a little bit of step to get back. And so imagine if you can't get back to the back where you have the golf clubs or groceries or whatever it might be. He can help you with that as well. But again, the grill guards, the bumpers, and much more, that's what they do. That's what they do best. And, of course, they do it well. When he took over, the service bays are spotless, great Texan specialists, and they have what you need for your car, your SUV, minivan, and pickup truck at Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco and createacommotion.com.
Nothing beats fall, football, and Ford. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. The Friday night lights at Midway High School ignite that electric feeling. And Bird Colgin Ford, we have some cool electric vehicle options as well. Come put your custom order in today for the all-new Mach-E or Ford Lightning. Enjoy the electricity and the lightning speed on the football field and nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
All right, this 4 o'clock hour heading into the second half of it. Well, we appreciate you. One note of interesting note of a musician, Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts passed away. A statement from the Rolling Stones: he passed away today in London, peacefully in a London hospital, surrounded by his family. He was one of a kind, one of the greatest drummers, of course, of his generation. I was able to see the Rolling Stones, I think, in a Super Bowl in Detroit, and also in Vegas once. And he, of course, was among the greatest of all time.
I was supposed to see them 2 years ago in Houston, and Mick Jagger had to have a minor medical procedure, which when you're Mick Jagger's age, nothing is minor. And I didn't get to see him, and now it really super bums me out that I haven't gotten to see them, in full force.
Yeah, I was not a big Rolling Stones fan growing up, but as I've gotten older, started to appreciate them more. And then learning where a lot of their blues came from was the old black artists back in the day, like Robert Johnson's, and very influential with the blues rock fusion. And I love that wave of British blues rock that was influenced by the true American jazz pioneers that the Stones did, and then Clapton and did it. And that whole just British wave, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac is freaking incredible. I love them. Yeah, so rest in peace to Charlie Watts. Definitely a legend.
Adrian in Tacoma on the BetUS phone caller line.
Go ahead, Adrian.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate, you guys have been my go-to for all this college talk about the alliance and expansion and everything like that. So were you guys I got two things. One, were you guys as disappointed and underwhelmed with the announcement as I was? Because I felt that they dropped the ball when they did their announcement.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it was underwhelming. I mean, I thought it would be a whole thing, and I think the most underwhelming thing I heard was like, yeah, we didn't write anything down. It was just three guys in a room, shaking hands.
No agreement, like no actual contract. That doesn't make no sense.
Yeah. Just got to trust each other here in college athletics, Yeah,
it's a handshake. But so my one thing is so I think that I've called a couple different times and everything like that. I feel like they should have announced that, hey, each one of us are going to expand to 16 teams. So we're going to add a couple teams to get to that number. We're going to do ACC is the only one out of the 3 that doesn't have a 9-game conference schedule. So that would leave 3 out of conference games. They could be like, out of the 3 non-conference games, we're going to give 2 of those to play amongst each other, and then 1 open to whoever they want to fill that schedule with. Like with saying like, oh, well, it's to be determined. Like we haven't decided on when we're going to do the actual scheduling. Like what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There's so much to sort through. It sounds like they just have like a bare bones agreement, but not much of a plan right now. Is what it sounds like. And I don't get me started. Like, how are they going to? If Notre Dame counts as one of the crossover teams, right? Even though they're not officially in the ACC, but apparently for those schools like USC and Michigan, who already have USC on the schedule or Notre Dame on the schedule, that would count still as if they were playing one of the other conferences. So then that throws the numbers off as well. The Pac-12, by adding 2 teams, would put the numbers pretty right across the board. But with Notre Dame's involvement and them not looking like they're going to join a conference anytime soon, but them being counted as as one of those crossover games, it's just all it's very messy and not anything that they can start like next year or the year after. Like this is going to have to be something. It seems like with all the agreements in place. Sure, you could buy out some of the smaller schools maybe, but that's going to add up too because of how far out people are scheduled. So it seems, and I've seen a couple of comments like this of the announcement was made today, but we might not see anything from it for like another 3 to 5 years potentially. So again, kind of an announcement almost just to have an announcement, it feels like, because we didn't really learn anything that we didn't already know in terms of their intentions and what this seems to be about. So, a big disappointment and kind of confusing that there's not more that they brought to the table given the amount of attention that they knew was going to be on this press conference today.
Yeah, no, it seemed like a huge buildup because right now every college fan, maybe even most media outlets, you're almost like hanging on every word. And there's a lot of reports, and there's a lot of, well, this is what's going to happen. Again, Kansas to the Big Ten the day of the story that Texas and Oklahoma were both leaving. There's been a lot of that. Nothing has happened since that day other than the Big 12 telling ESPN cease and desist, and ESPN go, we haven't done anything. Oklahoma and Texas are still in the conference for now. I don't think that goes past this season. Nobody else has joined another conference. No other conference is realigned. There was this alliance, which really is a lot of talk and a lot of maybe paperwork, but really nothing concrete. So we're thirsty for something to hit, and really nothing else is hit.
Here was an exact quote from another one from Kliavkoff. This apparently exclusively with, it's an exclusive talk with college football. Okay, whatever. Just felt the need to use that word, I suppose. But the decision by Texas and Oklahoma to leave the Big 12 obviously caused everybody to think about their conference and their membership. Certainly in the Pac-12, we were thinking about that as well, and it caused me to do a lot of work on what would be the reason for expansion. New games, new schools that get to play in our stadiums, new time zones, and new recruiting territories. At least for the scheduling portion of the alliance that was announced this morning, we're able to achieve a lot of what we wanted to achieve when we were thinking about expansion by forming this alliance. So that is from George Kliavkoff.
All right. Well, again, I will find out later this week what their intentions are. I wonder if they have the Big 12, hey, we looked at it, but no. Or it's going to be, we're looking at it, but we'll see.
With Jim Phillips in the ACC, it's almost as if he couldn't say anything. He could recognize another conference, but knowing legally there's nothing he can really say because perhaps they're stuck. The Big 12 appears to be stuck. And if they had the balls, excuse my language, to go out and say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we have, this is what we're going to do going forward, and oh, by the way, here's our network contract extension, grant of rights, whatever, I would pass out. I would like, what?
Yeah.
But we understand that means I'll probably never pass out.
But this also is a very proactive move, one that Bob Bowlesby would not have made, obviously, because we were just talking about his lack of that certain characteristic. But looking down the line at, the scheduling models and the playoff, and I mean, I see the some of the intent. I still can't help feel a little bit let down by it all, quite frankly, because it's it's light on details and light on what this actually means. It seems like they just formed a group to say they formed a group to fight the SEC, basically. And that's why I go back to this whole Civil War thing that's been in my head now for about the last 24 hours about if this is going to get as ugly as it could potentially get or as petty, then, I mean, when do we start to talk about the SEC and maybe they add some more schools potentially, but be in a league? And then you've got the other part of the country with all their little alliance and their league, and
it looks like wrestling in the 70s.
Yeah, it's like like right now with WWE's like the big dog because they've been around for forever, but then there's AEW, and then or back in the 90s there was WWF and there was WCW and there was ECW, and and like maybe it's like that. I would hate to see that. That would be the end of college football as we know it, but I mean, I think that's as likely as everything staying pat and nice and kosher, and then just, you know what, here in a few years we'll expand the playoff. It just seems like everybody's got their finger on the trigger right now, and it's just a matter of like who's going to shoot first. And I think that the Alliance fired off a couple of shots today, very light caliber, maybe even BBs, and the SEC just shook it off, and we'll see if they have any response, but I wouldn't expect one. I don't really see why they need to respond in any way.
Not really. And then Josh Newman on the text chat line, looking back, crazy strong the original Big 12 was.
Man.
And then he said, sad to see that even Texas didn't kill the Big 12 or the Southwest Conference that they may have killed the old Big 8.
Yeah.
And again, that's a harsh. I mean, the Big 8, they wanted to be a part of it as well. They needed bigger markets too. But it seemed to be a conference that was very strong. Now, when it came to television, Oklahoma and Nebraska had some of the greatest ratings, had the great attendance, had the great year. But that's not what was going to last for very long. Because if you look at the original Big 8, Missouri moved to the SEC. Colorado's to the Pac-12. Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma State are still a part of the Big 12, and they're like flipping in the they're twisted in the wind. So it was a conference that had its own bumps and bruises, but yeah, that thing used to be pretty damn good in football.
I would be curious to know, and you'd have to change the numbers because A&M's obviously worth a lot more now than they were at the time that they left. So is Missouri, so is Nebraska. Like all of them are because they've gone to bigger conferences. But I would be really curious to know what the original Big 12 would look like right now in today's market and the valuation and all of that.
Yeah.
Just to make myself feel terrible. That's why I would want to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got Armstrong. We need to debut the shot clock officially right now. We've got 5 callers. So listen, I'm telling our callers, it's nothing to really do with you. We just need to get through all 5 of you. So we're going to put a 45-second shot clock up, and I know that you may not be able to see that if you're just listening on the phone, but Armstrong's going to put a shot clock up, and when you hit your time, Armstrong, play the sound. We have to do it. We have to do it. We're on a shot clock time, so let's go rapid fire. We've got 5 calls on the BetUS caller line. Let's go to T-Rex. Go.
Hey, guys. I'm going to hit you with this buzzer beater real quick. Question for you. We keep talking about alliances and civil wars and all this. Who else in history had an alliance that was just a handshake agreement and blew up in their face? Stalin and Hitler. Handshake agreements don't mean anything. Look at what happened in World War II. And then you talk about the Civil War. I think that's great for us as a Baylor in the Big 12 because we're going to be like mercenaries and we'll get to pick who we fight for. So maybe Baylor will end up in the SEC because there is a Civil War. So have your allegiance over on the West Coast and in the Northeast. We'll just bide our time and we'll take the highest bidder. Sick 'em Bears. I think it's 12 days till football kickoff for Baylor.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, didn't get it.
You lose a finger.
Didn't get it. Oh, man.
Thank you, T-Rex.
Okay. All right. Let's go to
Appreciate the text. Oh, thanks for the call and the feedback.
Right. Let's go to Chris in Missouri, who's back again after he got cut off earlier. You're on the clock, Chris. Go.
Roger that. Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, Craig, I agree 100% about the Civil War talk. Think of it like this. North is the Big Ten and the Pac-12. The South is the SEC and ESPN. Your swing vote with the Prussians, basically the mercenary army, is the ACC. The ACC is unhappy with the ESPN contract. They want a new contract from ESPN. The only thing that makes sense for them is to pressure ESPN by saying, hey, we'll go with the alliance if we don't get a new contract. So I'd be keep an eye on them and ESPN, what they're doing, because it just makes sense they side with SEC in the end. They're under ESPN already, but that's my take on it. Thanks, guys.
All right, under the buzzer. Good job, Chris.
Yeah, great job there. And, you know, I do think, going back to T-Rex, that type of war would be beneficial for the smaller schools like Baylor or TCU or some of those that are a little bit worried now, because I think you would go from people retracting to then going, okay, well, now we're going to scoop up, what we can. I don't think the SEC would come scoop up Baylor and TCU, but, I think that maybe they could move them elsewhere. And that was a great line on the Prussians. Yeah. I do think one concern that's still out there with the handshake agreement thing is, okay, so there's nothing locked in to where, besides the TV, I get the ACC has the contract through 2036, but it did leave open the door for the possibility if the SEC wants to say, okay, y'all want to form an alliance, backdoor phone call to Florida State, backdoor phone call to Clemson, and let's party. And I wouldn't doubt that for 1 second, because the SEC wouldn't sit back and just not have any salvos of their own.
Yeah, no, you don't become who they are without looking ahead, like you said. Sankey's looking ahead, or before that, Mike Schlieve, who was the czar, right? He might as well have been the NCAA commissioner. Jim Delaney in the Big Ten. The Big 12 has never, with all due respect, has never had a strong commissioner. The only one that was Chuck Ninus, who came in to save their butts in between Dan Beebe and Bob Bowlesby. But Delaney and Schlieve. Right now, if I was the Big 12, I'd call one of them. Oliver Luck, okay. I would call one of them and go, okay, we'll give you $5 million. Get us out of this mess, like that.
We'll give you OU and UT's buyout money and all $180 million of it or whatever.
They're fearless. They're forward-thinking. They think outside the box, and they also look ahead. Don't worry about this year. Look at the next 10.
I'd much rather have Schlieve than Delaney. Delaney is kind of stuck.
Well, he's kind of like the old Big Ten offense.
What I would do is I would go see Mike Schlieve, like the first scene in Rambo 2, where he's like sitting there in a different country, like kneeling and meditating. It's like, I need you back.
Here's
a kind of mission for
from
you.
The 806. Do you guys see a scenario where the SEC would want Tech that would give them 3 of the largest universities in Texas, or is it definitely no way? If they wanted Tech, they would have had Tech.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Now, that doesn't mean things can't change, but I would think that would have already been done.
Yeah, I say that they would have just scooped them up with Oklahoma and Texas if that was the intention. They don't need the Texas market anymore. They've got it with A&M and Texas. So they really have no need for Texas Tech.
Yeah, no question.
The only way I could see that is if, there is this war and then the two sides just start grabbing teams, and then maybe you could see that.
I want chaos. I think we might have the simmering of chaos, like when you cook something really good and you kind of simmer it, and then all of a sudden you walk away, forget it's on the stove, and then it starts bubbling and boiling. I want that.
That is something that if this alliance does, manage to drag this out to where everybody's got free market negotiations here in a few years for the playoff, then I think that's the chaos that we could all be careening towards right now.
All right, by the way, on the 512, one of the chat rooms, you came out and said a couple of things. I asked you to text me. You did. I think that's how it works when there's something that may be a little bit of the edge, a word or something you use. I'm going to always give you the benefit of the doubt. Text me. Let's work through it, and we did, I think. We'll find that out. 254-339-1122, SICM 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They got a lot of great deals going on right now. The summer savings event going on over at Richard Carr. They're getting people out on the road in both new but also great deals on pre-owned vehicles as well over at Richard Carr. And they have great customer service as well. Right now you can get back on the road with some space, safety, and luxury in a Buick. Right now, well-qualified buyers can get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. They've also got the responsive power, advanced technology, and exceptional agility. That's all combined in the new Cadillac to bring a smile to your face on every drive. At Richard Carr Cadillac, they will find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395, or the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. And as I mentioned at the top, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move during the summer savings event. Multiple cars and trucks, models, variety, size, speed, all of that priced to get you back on the road this summer. And each one of those pre-owned vehicles goes through a 172-point inspection before it ever hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr is looking to say yes, while others say no. 100% credit approval is always their goal. And if you're here in the Waco area, as we are, then Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. Give them a chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. You can come by the dealership and take a test drive, or you can get in contact with them and they will set up a way to bring the test drive to you, to your home or to your place of business to go and check it out. Give them a call, set all that up, or just go by the dealership and check out all the great new and pre-owned models and deals on the lot. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr, and they are owned and operated and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We'll hear from former Baylor quarterback Nick Florence in the 4:15 or so segment. Also today, David Hellman on the Cowboys at 5. Here we go. Back to the calls. Lit up. 254-339-1122.
Let's go to Beaverton, Oregon. Steve. You're on Sick of 365 Radio. Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to talk about realignment a little bit. I really think if we had 4 super conferences over a decade ago, we'd be in a fantastic spot right now. It would be a great setup. All this wasted energy of Big 12, several years ago, exploring all this expansion, all this just wasted stuff. None of this would be needed. We'd be playing more high quality matchups. Football would be strong across the country. I still think it's the best way to go is just 4 super conferences and probably break free. And I think that the compromise could be 4.
Yeah. All right, he missed it. He missed it. We got to.
All right, yeah, we are loaded up, but we're not trying to be disrespectful by any means. We want to make sure we get to as many conferences. And then sometimes we understand it might take a little bit longer, but back to 254-339-1122.
All right. Oh, and in West Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line.
Sorry, I'm actually from Virginia, but I wanted to talk about a West Virginia recruit. Nico Marcoli got on the podcast 3 Guys Before the Game with Tony Creedy and Brad Howe, and he actually dropped a little hint. He's been a big recruiter for West Virginia, and he said something about West Virginia moving conferences or either next year or within the first couple years. So, I just wanted to kind of pick y'all's brains on that one.
Well, again, if he knows something on the inside, you would think Gordon Gee or somebody else would have also said something, or maybe even Neil Brown. I don't know if that's the case. Usually, I'll tell you this: those who are recruiting, those men and women know. They do, because they're out there putting their their career on the line, trying to get people, and they got to know a little bit. And then some of them could be completely clueless. Not clueless as in stupid, but just not sure what's going on. But if that was said, that's unique. All these little pieces, what Dave Wanstead said, and then you really listen to him, and it's more, well, kind of probably, maybe, she said, he said, whatever. But that's good. We appreciate that. Thanks for the call from Virginia. That is intriguing.
All right, let's go down to the 305. Anthony's in Miami on the Bet US caller line. Put up the shot clock, Armstrong.
Okay, I have a question for you three guys. You three. This handshake agreement, or if it goes all the way through, do you think this forces Notre Dame to maybe join a conference? Because this probably phases out an independent like Notre Dame, even if their schedule is good. Do you think it makes them join the ACC now, or do you think it doesn't matter for Notre Dame?
I don't think it matters for Notre Dame until some sort of thing officially, because again, this is a handshake agreement. So Notre Dame can't be pushing anything on a handshake agreement. If there is some sort of official push from it would have to be even a governing body, wouldn't you think, Craig, to make Notre Dame be, And
I don't even know who that would be.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, they don't have any reason to jump into the fracas right now. They are perfectly adequate being independent. It's better for them than being in a conference at this stage in time. And I don't even think all of this movement, maybe it gets their brains ticking a little bit to just be aware and to – but, the thing is with Notre Dame, while all these other teams are out there politicking, and apparently everybody in the Big 12 has called the Pac-12 over the last 2-3 weeks, Notre Dame is the one getting the calls. They're not the ones making the phone calls. They don't have to worry one iota about being left out of really anything. Now, if there came to a situation with the playoff expansion and, with that sort of unsettled right now, if it did come to the point where the rules were made to where Notre Dame does not benefit by being an independent, then that would potentially pressure them into having to join a conference just for playoff sake and things like that. But at this point in time, there doesn't appear to be that type of a pressure. And so I think they're perfectly fine in just sitting back, watching the chaos and watching where the chips fall. And then if they need to make a move, they'll make a move. But they're in the driver's seat right now, and they don't need to be proactive or reactionary in any way, shape, or form.
I agree with that. One note from Girl Friday 85 she said, YouTube, this is a compliment. She put up a comment, but because the chat room is just blowing up. I wanted to respond to Craig's comment about Bob Bowlesby appears to be not doing anything. Since the ADs and presidents as well as Bosley have signed the non-disclosure, they have to be careful about what they say and who they say it to. Silence does not equate nothing being done. I think that he's talking with the 8 schools on a regular basis as well as commissioners of the alliance, but I understand concerns about why nothing is being said by Bowlesby. And I think leaders, even if they can't say much, it's good to see them. Yeah. Even if they're saying nothing.
That's the thing, is it's like I don't expect him to come out. Yeah, thank you, Paula. And you bring up a great point about the non-disclosures and all of that. I mean, there's a reason why it's gone stone quiet on the Big 12 side of things since Bowlesby threatened to sue ESPN. I mean, everything is shut down since then. So I'm sure there were some lawyers that talked to him and people involved, and there's not really much he can say. But I think he can say plenty without mentioning Texas or Oklahoma or mentioning ESPN and like you said, just say something. Like I know it's not going to be anything that is like substantial to chew on, but you got 8 schools that are just dangling by a thread right now, and you're the leader of those 8 schools when it boils down to it, and they feel leaderless at the moment. So who does that come back to? It comes back to you. Now, maybe they feel better behind the scenes. That would also be kind of good to know. You know what I mean? Like just something. But no, I get it. I know he can't say a whole lot, but at the same time, I think you can lead without having to talk about certain things directly.
From Dan Tipton on the chat room, back to the calls. Your conference commissioner signed a non-disclosure. That is not leadership.
Sometimes it's probably best legally to.
I don't know if he did. I think he may have asked everyone else, the presidents and ADs. I don't know the actual interior part of that.
Yeah.
All right, back to the calls.
All right, let's go to Jerry in Brunswick, Georgia. Jerry, thanks for your call.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I would like to see maybe BYU and Boise go ahead and get the invite. Also, if they're not going to raid the AAC, invite Air Force, San Diego State, swallow pride, form an alliance with the SEC, the AAC, and Sun Belt. That way you have a 4-conference alliance versus a 3-conference alliance. Great show. Enjoy everything y'all do.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Okay, you said Boise and Brigham Young?
Yeah.
Again, those are 2 teams with a lot of interest in me. Obviously, Memphis, Cincinnati, we brought up UCF or whatever. We're going to hear from Chris Vanini on UCF again, a story he wrote in theathletic.com. There's 5 to 9 schools. There may be 3 or 6 that are out there, and Brigham Young is always somebody that makes sense if, in fact, they can work it out with what the conference is or what it remains. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about adding the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to make mention, I've looked, and there's no report of Bowlesby signing a non-disclosure, so it seems to me that he probably just had lawyers say, like, look, be careful because ESPN fired right back. So no non-disclosure based on anything that I've read, but still just probably playing it smart. As far as those schools, I just feel like if there was legitimate interest there, then they would have made that move already. It's kind of like West Virginia and the ACC. If the ACC was really all that interested in West Virginia, then what's prevented them at really any point in time outside of let's say the last few years because they've been locked down with the Big 12, but the ACC hasn't had interest, and the Big 12 at this point, they had the whole dog and pony show of we're looking at expansion, and then that's what the Pac-12 could announce. They could have that. We're announcing we're not expanding on Friday. That might be what we get from them. Who knows? But that's basically what the Big 12 did.
I knew we were screwed at Big 12 Media Days when I saw on the big image that huge screen behind who was ever up on the podium, Bowlesby, the officials guy, or the coaches. Unity.
It brought
back nightmares.
One true champion.
One true champion. And, of course, we know that they screwed that up in 14 and had no they didn't know what to do. They froze. And well, this is what the bylaws say. Bowlesby got mad at me when I got onto him about that. And then even before that, it was the A&M deal. They're on their way out. And there was something togetherness or whatever it was. So don't put up images of anything. Just Big 12 logo and leave it alone.
I cannot remember who it was at the press conference because they asked Bob Bowlesby about one true. So you say one true champion, but as I'm reading your specific rules here, that's not at all what this is. He's no, but it is.
Yeah. And then, of course, the most of nightmarish, two really tremendous teams end up in an unbelievable battle, and yet both end up with a loss, and the one time head-to-head didn't matter. And if you're a TCU fan, you didn't think it should. If you're a Baylor fan, you absolutely always say head-to-head should matter. It's crazy what happened.
He had a chance to be like when they asked him, who's the champion? He should have said Baylor.
He actually, what he did do was more allude to TCU than he did Baylor, and that's why Bob Bowlesby will always be a dead man walking, not literally, when it comes to Baylor.
All right, going back to that last call and following up on what they said about the conference, another thing to make mention is not only does there not appear to have been any interest previously by the Big 12. Now, I know they're in a different boat now, but again, with the AAC's ESPN contract that is far sturdier than what the Big 12 seems to have in place beyond the next 5 years, unless you can assure me that you're going to be a Power 5 status conference moving forward, if you were to add Cincinnati and teams like that, there is no benefit for Cincinnati and those teams to leave basically the same exact place to just move by name conferences. So there would have to be some certainty that the Big 12 is going to remain in the Power 5 for it to make sense for those schools to want to jump. Otherwise, if you're Cincinnati or Navy or whoever, you can just wait because the Big 12 is probably coming to you. You know what I mean? I mean, that's why it's not as simple to me as just adding schools from the American, and also it's a value thing as well. Does that really change your future TV contract? Are teams getting paid more or less if you add Cincinnati and Houston and Tulane or teams like that? If you're making less, then it makes even less sense. So there's all those factors as well.
I don't know how to say your first name. It's Jallou and then Luu. So I'll say it's Jalou, whatever your name is. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. I'm sure I did. He said this: the College Football Alliance's media markets. Now, this doesn't mean that they do well in these markets. Includes, now these are the 41 teams now: Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, and Indianapolis.
Well,
but it also includes Los Angeles, right?
Seattle.
In Seattle.
Chicago, Denver. We said here. He's got another one. Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, Denver, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, L.A., and Phoenix.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's
There's no question.
Salty, yeah.
It's not the 41 or the SEC. It's the other ones who are twisted in the wind right now trying to say what markets they bring to the table. And just being honest, there aren't many that it appears that will make a TV network say, hey, we'll give you $45 or $50 million a year.
You're selling the long-term growth potential of Stillwater, Oklahoma, very short, Smokey.
Chip and Joanne are doing wonders here in Waco.
Here's it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's go to Maurice in Connecticut. Maurice, thanks for calling the Bet US caller line.
Yes, and I love your show.
Thank you.
There's a simple, we could fix this. Now, I know if the schools get together, and I was thinking about this. You take 80 schools, you have 10 conferences, 8 conferences with 10 schools each. You ask your team like Texas A&M, or Texas and Oklahoma. I use that for an example. Texas and Oklahoma, they're travel partners. So you have a conference for 4 years with 10 schools in. Like, I'm just using for an example. Texas, A&M, Baylor, Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska, Iowa State, Colorado State. Those 10 teams play each other for a 4-year span. And then after the 4 years over, they move and they play other teams.
All right, do you get enough in?
Yeah, I think so. I think I get it.
Respond to what he said.
I think I get it. So it's kind of like, and Jack, tell me if this is, it's almost a European soccer model he's talking about. It's a little bit loose. Jack wasn't paying attention, or one time a soccer guy's doing it. But, European soccer too, they move around, and there's some fluctuation in the leagues, especially at the bottom. But yeah, that could be a massive alliance where all of a sudden your you have a scheduling differences every 4 years or so. Yeah.
He wasn't talking about relegation, was he?
No, I don't think so. It would just be, moving it around with the.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the shot buzzers, not to be disrespectful. We just got to be careful about time. But, I think your possibilities are interesting. There's a lot of talk about pods, in the SEC, or pods in realignment, or pods in or not realignment, but pods in scheduling and things like that. But, yeah, like a rotation of sorts. I mean, I know everybody in SEC country is trying to figure out how Texas and Oklahoma fit in the mix and what that schedule is going to look like. So now you're talking about scheduling with the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC, how they're going to do that. These two games, where does Notre Dame fit in? So there's so many different, scenarios and ways to go. And yours is definitely, one of the different ways that this could go as well. So do appreciate your input.
All right. Thank you to so many. 304 text, do you see West Virginia joining the ACC? Again, remember, there was that opportunity at some point back in the day from the 614. Matt from Columbus. Guys, you have a great show. Thank you, Matt. Columbus, Ohio, home of the Buckeyes. As we consider the reasons for this new alliance, what do you make of the reported reasons behind athletics or beyond athletics that they used? And they did use this. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, social justice, gender equity, the future structure of the NCAA, federal legislative efforts. They were reported as reasons for the alliance in addition to sports. Thanks for your insights. And I think there's probably some of that, but I also think that was also trying to cover the academia and maybe the reputations of some of these schools that have this, hey, we're here and you're not.
Yeah.
That may be me. I'm not trying to insult them, but I got that feeling as well.
I'll tell you this, on the diversity, social justice, and gender equity, I think, and I hope that they do all those things. And I think that I'm sure they will, or at least they'll try, but I think that's something you now have to say, because if you don't say that you're doing it, then somebody's going to ask you why you didn't mention it. So it's got to always be in everything. And I think the other two things are the future structure of the NCAA and federal legislative efforts have much more to do with this than any of those other things.
All right, when we come back, Nick Florence, former Baylor quarterback, he was forced into playing very young in his career at Baylor because RG3 got hurt, and then had to wait his time, and then blew a redshirt year. He didn't blow it, but lost a redshirt year when Robert Griffin III went out against Texas Tech, his Heisman Trophy year. And think about all the different years now that you get, like the extra year, the COVID year, the other year, this year, and you wonder about Nick Florence. But his thoughts about Gary Bohannon and the quarterback competition at Baylor and much more, and this is Sick on 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza. Guess who's on a cruise right now? Bob Mock, who owns the Marco's Pizzas in Central Texas, in Belmead, Woodway, and also in China Spring. He is on his way, and he's in the middle of it now, a cruise somewhere. He didn't want to tell me where, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to tell you he's on a cruise. But Marco's Pizza, there's 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket Golden Trust in a heavenly melt on a Marco's Pizza that will blow your mind. Visit Marcos.com to order. Stop by Marco's Pizza, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be opening in Robinson on the southeast part of Waco. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
All right, here we go. This Sikkim 365 in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll have Cowboys football discussion with David Hellman at 5, Paul's Top 5 in an hour and a half. We're now joined by former Baylor quarterback and currently a part of Baylor Athletics fundraising, Nick Florence on Sikkim 365 Radio. Nick, I don't know if you've even had a chance to watch a practice where you might be, but let me ask you this. The decision with Gary Bohannon, we spoke yesterday about that with J.J. Joe. You've been a part of a couple of quarterback battles that have, kind of lingered a little bit. Your thoughts about making the decision and getting it so they can move on to head towards that opening game?
Yeah, well, first, guys, thanks for having me. Kind of feels like I'm riding a bike again for the first time. So bringing back memories here. But no, I mean, I'm excited for Gary. Obviously, I got to be a part of a competition myself, and I think at the end of the day, competition makes you better. It's why you have it. It's why you've got training camps. It's why you've got spring ball, and so from what I've heard, those guys competed well and competed hard and made each other better. And honestly, I'm a fan of announcing a starter just to get reps and focus. Rather than the uncertainty of the unknown heading into the first game. But hey, you've got talented guys on that side of the ball with all three that Coach Aranda said was competing. And so I think we're in good shape either way.
Nick, what do you think sets Gary apart from everyone else right now?
Yeah, I'll go off what I've kind of heard. As Smoak mentioned, I have not watched much practice in my role. I've watched probably about 30 minutes. But, I think there's something to be said, about years and experience. And obviously you've got guys across the country that are coming in and winning starting jobs ahead of guys that have been there longer. But, I think that's the one thing you can't coach and teach is experience. And I think that's the one thing Gary has that obviously I think has set him apart in one aspect. And that's the leadership, the being around, the understanding what it takes. He's played in some games. He's been around. This is his fourth fall on the team. And so that's a guy that's not fresh, fresh in the sense of reps, but not fresh in the sense of going through the grind and the rhythms of college football.
Nick, what would be your advice to Jacob Zeno, Kyron Drones, Blake Shapen? I mean, I've said before, there's not a Baylor quarterback of all the star quarterbacks they had that hasn't missed some time in well over 10 years. I mean, everybody missed a game or two, so I know those guys have to stay ready, but what would you tell them as far as, not winning it this time, but just sticking in there, staying in there, and waiting for their opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, our job is to be the best version of ourselves we can be. And while they maybe didn't get the news that they were hoping in getting that starting position, they still have a role in this team that's vital. And you've got to make Gary better. You've got to go out and get reps with the second team. Things are going to change. Football's a violent sport. People get hurt. You never know when your number is going to be called. I speak from experience on that. And so, do whatever you need to do internally in your own heart and in your own mind that every day I'm going to go out and I'm going to compete and I'm going to be the best I can be for my teammates, for myself, and for the greater good of Baylor football. And that's what championship teams are made of and built out of, because whether you're throwing to the ones, the twos, or you're running the scout team, you don't know who's going to play on that Saturday. You don't know what look you're going to be able to give the scout team or the defense that day that shows up in the game on Saturday that might be the play that changes the momentum or makes a win or a loss. And so those guys got to understand they have a role in this team. And while it's not the number one quarterback, if it's number 2, 3, or 4, wherever you are, you go out and compete and make the guys around you better. That's what leaders do, and that's what that quarterback position should be doing.
For those watching and listening who don't know the story, Nick Florence, his junior year, had to come off. He was going to redshirt, came off the bench to take over at the end of the first half. RG3 suffered a concussion. Nick played the second half, lost his red shirt. Nick, I have to ask you, because of all the new rules where they can COVID year, an exception year, there's all of these new things. And you did what you said you did, something incredibly unselfish. Do you look back at that now with all the new ways that you have 6-year seniors, not because of injury, but because of exceptions?
Not at all. There's going to be a lot of what ifs in life. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that ask me that question. And man, my time at Baylor as an athlete was amazing, and I wouldn't change it. And got a great family. I've got 2 kids. I love my job. The Lord is in control of our days and our steps, and I just want to be obedient. And to live life with regret is not living in the present and taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me. And so I've got 0 regrets. The way it went down was awesome. I wouldn't change a thing. And kudos to those guys that get an extra year, whether it's the redshirt rule or the COVID season. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, and also without guys' stories like Nick's, without multiple, then you don't actually get to sit down with the NCAA and have a reasonable talk about how about we give them 4 games as opposed to this all of a sudden happen and here's a guy's got to go play and a half and he loses a year of eligibility. Nick, you just happen to be a veteran player when that happened. It happened to a lot of probably younger guys before you, and that played 5 snaps their freshman year because of an emergency and then they lost a year.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of the game and part of evolving. And I think everything, whether it's college football, NCAA, business, whatever we're in, you guys, we're always evolving, trying to get better, trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of the parties involved. And so, I do think it's a good role on that 4-game deal, and there's a lot of people that will benefit from it. And I think that's a good thing.
So, Nick, when you first, kind of took over the reins there, what did, your fellow members of the offense, what kind of a role did they play in, keeping your confidence, being there by your side, fighting it through with you? Like, what do you think these offensive linemen or these older players like Treston Ebner can do to make the new fit for Gary that much more comfortable, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think it comes back to the reality of why I love the game of football, and that's because it's a team game. And yes, there's one quarterback that plays on the field at a time, but man, you've got 5 linemen, you potentially have a tight end, 4 wide receivers, 1, 2 running backs. I mean, you've got 11 guys on that field that realize if I don't do the job that's in front of me and that I'm tasked to do, the play doesn't work. And so really it's just about camaraderie. It's about, hey, let's focus on the job at hand, the task at hand. And then really for Gary, for him to be successful, you realize who's around you. You can't do it on your own. If you've got 3 linemen, you're not going to be successful. You got to have all 5 doing their job. You've got to have running backs and receivers and tight ends that are dynamic. And so for Gary to get the ball in their hands and manage the game and don't try to do too much. And, ultimately the greatest teams are the ones that are teams. And so it's not about one guy. And I think Gary and Tristan and all those guys would say that. And then, Gary on the side, make sure you feed those O-linemen well, just FYI.
little dinner every once in a while, yeah?
You're talking steak and potatoes, barbecue, anything that puts meat on their bones, right? Anything that allows them to be happy.
That's exactly right.
By the way, on the text line from Daniel, he said, Nick Florence is one of my all-time Baylor players in history. Favorite Baylor players in history. You mentioned back-to-back-to-back quarterbacks during that stretch, RG3, you and Bryce Petty. That was a hell of a run for Baylor and Coach Browse in the offensive side.
Yeah, we had some good days. And, I think a lot of that, it goes back to you talked about competition on the front end. We competed to make one another better. But we had great people around us and we had a great scheme. And I think there was unselfishness in our play and it necessarily wasn't about us, but about those around us. And so, man, I see a lot of those same attributes, with this staff and these players. And, the offense Coach Grimes is bringing in and I think it's going to benefit our offense, greatly. I think it plays to the quarterback position and getting the ball out of his hands and it's about unselfish play. And so, everything I've heard about that competition battle at the quarterback position is they're competing hard. But at the same time, there's unity in that room. And that's not easy to do in today's culture, in today's day and age. And so I commend Coach Bell for that as well. But I'm excited to see it in action in a couple of weeks.
Are you a fan of that? The wide zone. I mean, it's essentially the old Alex Gibbs, Mike Shanahan offense, updated throughout the years. But that's what kind of people can expect this year from Baylor. Are you a fan of that offense?
Yeah, man. I think getting back to running the ball, I think it's huge. And if you have a team that runs the ball, everything else is going to open up. I think that's go back to my days, and while it was a different style a little bit, I think people forget we ran the ball like over 50% of the time. And that's what opened everything up. And so I'm excited to see them establish the run, but also take shots downfield. And, that's how you build momentum. And Gary, I think he's got a great deep ball, and a great arm off of the play action. So I think it'll be an exciting offense to watch.
My favorite.
Obviously it paid dividends for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did.
Well.
From Mike George on the text line, watch the replay. Look in Nick Florence's eyes when they played Kansas State. That is still, and maybe for a long, long time, 52-24 against the number 1 ranked team in the country. Perhaps that's the largest victory, right, ever against the number 1 team, and you hammered them. And, man, that was such a year that you guys at the end of the year were as good as maybe a lot of teams Baylor's had that won a Big 12 title.
Yeah, I think, I think that year was an interesting year, coming off Griff and the Heisman and 10 wins and all the momentum, and you lose arguably your best player in program history, some would say, and it's left to us. Like, we're in that locker room, and we've got to come together and realize this program's bigger than one person. And I think Griff would have said the same thing walking out the door, and he earned his payday, and rightfully so. And but we battled through some tough times that year, and I think we came together really as a team that midway point. After some losses, we beat Kansas. We ended up playing OU, I think, tough on the road, and then that's when we kind of went on the run with Kansas State. And I think that's the epitome of what team is, and we started operating that way in practice and in the games, and it showed up, and it started clicking, and luckily we never looked back. And man, it was one fun ride, I can tell you that.
Did your arm get tired in the Holiday Bowl when you only threw 13 passes?
Yeah,
that's why they threw only 13 passes. Yeah,
it was making some good throws that game. I would have enjoyed to throw it a little more, but when you got Seastrunk and Glasgow back there, you didn't have to do too much. And the O-line, I mean, they ate that day and ate well.
They sure did. That was men among boys right there. BU Bear, Cole Converse, he said he remembers watching you in Ames. I know that you guys didn't win that game against Still Jance, and then BU_Bear. He helped beat the number one team in the country, still the all-time record margin. All right, I got to ask you this question because you are head of major gifts. That's what you do. And I asked you this on the phone. Coming off the national championship, how much, or is that a dumb question, did that help? And yet, how much do you get maybe some people saying, hey, what's going to happen here with the Big 12 and Baylor, and how do you juggle that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I will admit I would tell Scott every time I talk to him after winning that title, thanks for making my job easier. So it definitely didn't hurt, But, I think in life, going back to the conference thing, obviously predicting the future is difficult. And obviously there's been a huge kink thrown into that prediction model for us and the rest of the 8 Big 12 schools. But, I think really where I land is I look back to where we were 11 years ago when the whole conference realignment discussion was going about. And man, we are in just a much better place than we were 11 years ago. When you look at the last decade and the amount of wins that we've had across the board as an athletic department. But even look at the facilities, and we've got McLean Stadium, and we've got a basketball pavilion on the horizon. We've got a football operations building on the horizon that we're fundraising for. And I just, in my role, I deal with the generosity of people and our alums and donors that care to make a difference in the lives of our institution, the lives of our student athletes. And we'd be dead in the water if it weren't for them over the last 10 years, and the amount of generosity and philanthropy that has funneled to Baylor University and Baylor Athletics. And I am excited and I am optimistic about the future because I know those same people are going to step up in even bigger ways. And I know there's going to be new people that answer the call and take on the baton of stepping up and giving not only of their time, but of their philanthropy to help build a new pavilion, to help build a new football ops building, to help build our student athletes into young men and women that are going to go out and be world changers through Baylor Built and preparing champions for life. And so I get the privilege of seeing all that and interacting with the folks that are so generously giving of their time and their money. And so it's a rewarding job, and I think we're going to be okay. And but it's going to take a village. This isn't on one man's shoulders, although we've got some strong shoulders in Mac Rhodes. But this is going to take a village, and I think Baylor's ready for that challenge.
Hey, Nick, appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate your time. Nick Florence played at Baylor. Unselfish as you could ever imagine of a player coming off the bench, and they needed him to play against Texas Tech. RG3 had the concussion, got hit in the head, and then he came in, and one of his first throws in the second half was a deep post, wasn't it, to Kendall? Might have been to Kendall Wright, I believe, might have been a touchdown as well. That team, just a little note, the 2012 team ended up 8-5. They gave up 70 to West Virginia, and all you heard about was how bad Baylor's defense was, and Phil Bennett has been on this show and admitted many times that they lost, Mike Hicks was out, whatever. But no one ever said West Virginia gave up 63. It was crazy.
Yeah. They scored 70. They gave up 63.
They gave up 49 the next week to TCU. Then they gave up 56 to Texas. Gave up, I think, 42, to Iowa State. And then they went on this run. They went, including stopping the bleeding. They gave up 35 to Iowa State. They then beat number 1 ranked Kansas State after a loss in Oklahoma, and really kind of got on a nice little roll, and then won the Holiday Bowl in UCLA, San Diego, 49-26. All right, coming up, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. A couple of more. A lot of you on the text. Thanks to Richard Carr Motors, richardcarr.com, for their sponsors of our Baylor segments on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
If you are looking to buy a new home, you're moving to the Waco area, and you're selling a house here in the Waco area, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson, the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just Google Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, Waco, Texas, and you'll get it. Lance is a local realtor with a unique perspective, and certainly when you take a couple minutes and talk to him, you're going to find that out. Look, it's a seller's market right now. You need a realtor who can guide you through the process of that crazy good seller's market, but if you're also going to roll that into buying a new house, you don't want to burn all your profit on the new house. You want somebody who can help you, guide you through that process. That's Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar, where we take a look at some stories around the world of sports that aren't necessarily what we're mostly talking about, which is college football realignment. That's basically been the show now for the last, I don't know what, guys, 5 weeks or so. And so there's a lot we don't get to because we're spending, most of the 3 hours talking about the same topic. But it's been great, and now this is what this segment is for, is to take a look at some other stuff. I got to start off by asking Paul, did you see the new Spider-Man trailer?
6 times.
6 times? Is that all you watched it?
Yes,
Only 6?
I'm very excited.
Yeah. So you liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm very excited.
Okay.
They're bringing it all together. So, yeah, I'm pumped.
I'm going to assume you did not watch the new Spider-Man trailer, but basically everybody did. It was trending all day yesterday. Like they had leaked it initially, and then it finally did come out officially. But it looks pretty sick. It looks like it's going to be amazing. I think like it's got 1 billion views at this point already on YouTube. But that was just a little entertainment thing that came out. It's been a hot topic, and looking forward to seeing that one when it comes out. So you'd heard the story about J.R. Smith and attempting to go back to college, right? He was talking about, going back to school. He was going to play golf, and, he needed to get cleared. He had to go through the whole NCAA clearinghouse process and eligibility-wise and all of that. But J.R. Smith has been cleared, and J.R. North Carolina A&T golf team, freshman walk-on, age 35. So he's suiting up. It's all official. He's good to go. He's cleared, and he'll be a 35-year-old college golf athlete. So good for J.R. Smith.
I think he had a beard when he was 3.
Yeah.
He's always had that just full beard that looks like he had it when he was 3 years old. He was a heck of a player, sometimes a little bit out there.
He was not my favorite normally. No. Yeah,
didn't he eventually win a championship? Was it with Cleveland?
Yeah, he was with LeBron along the way.
Also cost him one too.
Yeah, also cost LeBron a title.
Yeah,
absolutely did do that. If you'll remember the whole not knowing how much time was left on the clock thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah. So, anyways, he is enrolled at the HBCU, North Carolina A&T, after 16 years in the league, and he was actually going to be a member of North Carolina's basketball program originally. He was going to go play for Roy Williams, but ended up going straight to the pros, and so that's why he never did. So he ends up in North Carolina going to school, just a different North Carolina, but there's some resolution to that, so that's cool for him. The Pac-12 Conference has announced that they have signed a multi-year pact with Ben's Deschutes Beer to become the official craft beer of the Pac-12 Conference.
The official craft beer of the Pac-12 Conference.
That's where we are now. I have no desire to, I don't know anything about that beer, but I just find it interesting that we're now in college athletics talking about the official craft beer of an entire power conference. It's just interesting how much things change over time.
We've got a couple of people here, Brotherwell, and of course, Three Nations. We need to get them on that, like the official beer of the... Well, I don't know if I'd want to be the official beer of the Big 12 just yet.
I would, because you'd have the most popular. What conference is drinking more right now than the Big 12? Honestly.
But they're going heavier.
Yeah. They might need
tequila, vodka, rum, bourbon, whiskey.
You might need the official cocaine of the Big 12 if it keeps going this bad.
No kidding. No, but they now have an official craft beer of the Pac-12, so Ben's Deschutes Beer. The NFL, gambling has become a very hot topic in sports, especially pro sports, and it's been an issue that they've just been kind of wanting to wade through, and not I think, make it all about betting. And so initially it looks as though the NFL is going to cap commercials on gambling to at least 6 advertisements per game, based on Jason Barrett and Barrett Sports Media. They want to ensure that sports betting ads don't overwhelm game broadcast at the outset, so you will only see 6 betting ads per game. I imagine that will probably go up, and I'm very interested to know just how much gambling, if at all, changes things. I mean, you see now, like, certain stadiums have, like, their gambling room, and it's just, I mean, it's not that strange to me, but for somebody who grew up in the Pete Rose era, is it not really bizarre to you to see, like, there's, official sponsors of casinos and official gambling partner of the NFL and things like that? Is that strange to you at all?
No, it is. It is. That was verboten for a long, long time. Now, gambling on yourself or gambling on your team, it's kind of across. I think baseball still has that, but there's 2 things that, as my age, that I've seen change. Well, now 3 or 4. Gambling ads, marijuana, which is kind of now looked the other way when it comes to some professional sports. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. It's NIL. Yeah, it's paying athletes in college. I mean, straight up cash. Those are things you got to remember. I'm 62. I've seen it where that just never was going to happen, and all 3 have just gone whoosh to the other side.
Yeah, it is strange. It is strange to me to see that, but also I think it. Let's open up part of the reason when you ban gambling so much is then it creates this like backdoor for illegal gambling so much. And now if you legitimize it, like it is like with one of our great sponsors, BetUS, if you have that kind of things, but if you have those kind of things, that makes it better. And then it's regulated and monitored as opposed to the under the table stuff that was going on. So yeah, I think, plus the other thing, it's not weird for me to see that as the economy ever changes, where can you get the most money out of? That's where you're going to go. Yeah. So if casinos are going to give you money and sponsor your league, and you're going to have places, like DraftKings or FanDuel or whoever sponsor your league, they're going to do it. And in Europe, they've been doing it forever. And I mean, British soccer teams sponsored by casinos all over the place. There's places in the stadium where you can go place a bet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's just it's interesting. So they're not going to overload. Basically, it's not a huge no by any means, but basically they're being mindful of the viewer out there. So you're only going to see a sparing few gambling commercials throughout NFL broadcasts, but they do say in the beginning, and we'll see how much that expands. But I mean, yeah, it was basically it's like NIL. It's like players were getting money behind closed doors, like you're saying, and now it's just all out there in the wide open. There was gambling going on in sports the entire time, and now they're just being, open about it. Did y'all, I doubt you did, but see the NFL top 100 on Deshaun Watson? Did you see that little?
I heard he was rated pretty high, except for the fact he's not going to play this year, probably.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. So the NFL's doing their top 100 players countdown that they always do. They do it every single summer, and they got to number 18 overall, and it was Deshaun Watson, and there was a little video, and it was kind of strange, and it had, the voice, nobody knows when Deshaun Watson will take the field again, and then it was like, it was very strange. It was not, you didn't have players talking about him like other players, or how they do that, yep. Like Chase Young's talking about Lamar Jackson or whatever, it was just all very awkward, and just the whole Deshaun Watson thing is awkward to begin with. But
there was also a survey among some writers in The Athletic about the quarterback position as far as power, arm strength, mobility, brains, all that. And he was listed quite a bit. And then they always had to have at the end an asterisk.
Yeah.
That he was included, but he may not play this year. No, he's not going to play.
Yeah, so they had a video like they did for everybody else, but they didn't have, like I said, the guys commentating on it. It was just kind of clunky, quite frankly. They had some narrated highlights or whatever, but there was no what they refer to as sound on tape or anything like that. So I guess instead of just skipping over him, which they could have easily done and people would have been understanding to that, they just had this awkward, hey, he's number 17. So we'll see where he ranks on that list next year. Probably not on the list at all. Mm-hmm. Maybe he is, maybe he gets cleared. That's for the courts to decide and all that, but it was just a weird
How many years now have we gone without the NFL having some sort of massive legal story from Deflate Gate to whatever else to the Saints to Bounty Gate. How many years have we been able to go without something like this? Whether it's
every year.
And now with Deshaun Watson or whoever it might have been. It just seemed like every
COVID,
year something just takes over.
Even during COVID, you would thought maybe it's lesser because you can't see people, but Antonio Brown certainly broke that. So, it's always going to be every year.
Yeah, it's just they probably would have been better served to just hop over him. But if he got voted or placed there or whatever, then that's the way that it is. This was from a couple of days ago, but University of Hawaii Athletics has announced that they're not going to have any fans in attendance. That is something that obviously has to do with the coronavirus. So University of Hawaii announced 2 days ago they will have no fans due to the state's recent record surge in COVID cases. The decision applies to all UH fall sports, including football, at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex. So that's Hawaii's decision. No fans, period, this fall, which is weird because they're out there on their own island. But then LSU today announced that they are going to require proof of vaccination to enter the stadium and to be in attendance at games this year. So that is something that has been talked about quite a bit as far as how colleges were going to handle that, but LSU is the first to come out and say they're mandating vaccine proof and a negative PCR test for fans entering their stadium this fall.
I want to get clarification on that because I thought I saw, they could do whatever they want, but I thought they saw it was like a timeline as well. Like you have to prove that it was like in a certain amount of time.
72 hours.
So if you had a vaccine in March, that doesn't count or does it count?
No, that counts. So I think it's proof of. So you have proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test in the last 72 hours.
Those who have not yet received the dose of COVID-19 vaccine must present digital or hard copy proof of a negative COVID test within 72 hours of kickoff. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So the state apparently has had more than 10,000 cases as of Monday. There's an increase, and that's why they're doing that. Guests will need to show proof of having at least one dose of the vaccine, and those without will need the 72-hour PCR test. Like you said, mask encouraged for guests between 5 and 11.
And with the Pfizer full approval that happened yesterday, you're going to see more and more government entities, state entities, private business, people who can, requiring the vaccine because now the hindrance to it, a lot of not requiring it, was it didn't have full approval. Well, now that one of the vaccines has full approval and one of them probably not as far behind, you're going to see more and more things like that. The Pentagon's requiring all soldiers get vaccinated for COVID-19. So if you're in the military, you have to do it. So this is going to happen more and more.
Yeah, just a heads up to LSU fans or people heading out to their games.
LSU fans will kill the virus with the liquor.
Yeah, of course.
They don't need a vaccine.
No, of course not.
They're like immune to that.
Yeah, Texas has joined a pretty big brand as far as this name, image, likeness stuff goes. This was a few days ago, but Texas launched group licensing via the Brander Group. There was a few other teams that had already signed up with the Brander Group. I want to say it was like Ohio State, and there was one or two others perhaps, or something similar to that. But basically what this means is that when you go to a Texas game this fall, you can buy a jersey that has a player's name on the back and has their actual number. You can buy T-shirts with the player's name or their image or their likeness, etc. So basically now, you walk in the pro shop at your stadium, and if there's, let's say it was here in Waco and there was a Gary Bohannon jersey hanging there, that would be a first because we've never seen anything like that. But in Texas' case, you can do that. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people to take up on it, and then, of course, they'll split some of the proceeds. I'm not sure how that'll all be figured out, but some of the money will go to the players. So that's another little pull for UT as far as the name, image, likeness stuff goes. A couple days ago, Tyler Smith, number 8 prospect in the class of 2023 basketball, signed with Overtime Elite. Be represented by Chris Gaston and Fam First Sports. He is the 7th 5-star recruit to join OTE. And I do believe that he has actually a couple years of high school left at this point. So he is going to be heading to the because he's class of 2023. So he's got a couple years left, and he is going to be going to the pro route after signing with Overtime Elite. And you talk about something we're going to see more and more and more of. Well, that's some of the stuff we're going to see more and more and more of. Smith is the 16th player to sign with OTE. the league's 7th five-star recruit. He actually was considering Baylor and Texas and Florida State, among others, but said he never wanted to play college basketball. This will get him ready faster. They've been telling me they have NBA facilities, trainers, and nutritionists from NBA teams. So
I'm not sure I like that they've been telling me. Why would you not visit to make sure? I'm sure they do, but that's a little.
And this is an overtime elite. It's looking at itself as an alternative to for the high school prospects and for international basketball prospects. They announced their opening in March, and they've got a bunch of backing. Kevin Ollie's involved with it. Former NBA execs are involved with it. They're going to start up in September in Atlanta, and will train and play against academies and prep schools in the U.S. and internationally. And they'll have 24 players split into 3 teams and will play against each other as well. So.
Speaking of five-star, I saw where North Carolina, this is Mac Brown doing what he does, recruit the hell out of people. Just keeping kids in state. Travis Shaw from Greensboro, North Carolina, Grimsley High School, the 4th overall player, number 2 defensive lineman in the class of 2022, picked North Carolina over Clemson. So that's another recruiting story as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're top 10 right now. I mean, Mac Brown can recruit. We know that. So, yeah, I mean, if that would have been basketball, that would have made even more sense. But, no, that's what he's doing now in football as well. But, this is a kid who probably could have gone to North Carolina to play basketball, and instead they're just skipping college altogether. And in this name, image, likeness world, that's more of an enticement. But is it really going to be enough of an enticement? Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's my next to last story, the final one being – on trading cards. And this is not a brand new card has been, sold for $3 million, some Honus Wagner with a bent corner, anything like that. It's instead about the end of an era. MLB and Fanatics have struck a licensing agreement over trading cards. What this means is that Topps is done after 70 years of producing Major League Baseball cards. They will no longer be producing MLB
I'm done.
cards.
That's it.
The Fanatics brand will start to...
All I've ever known.
Well, I mean, I guess you still have some time left because Fanatics will not fully get underway until 2026, but it is the end of a 70-year run for Topps.
That's a bummer. Love Topps.
They've been going on about as long as I've been alive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just found that interesting. A lot of card collectors out there who are probably Topps fans. They've been in the Major League Baseball game since the 1950s. So 70 years later, and there will now be Fanatics in charge of MLB baseball cards. So those are just a few stories that were off the radar.
Thank you very much, Craig. I saw where the girl, Sha'Carri Richardson, is that right?
Oh, yeah,
LSU, who was, remember, she was not allowed to go compete, then she came back. She got smoked literally by Elaine Thompson-Herah and others. Finished dead last in the 100, then pulled out of the 200. From Chris on the Twitter, it's odd part is I can't play DraftKings in Texas, but I can use BetUS, which I just joined, used Sikkim 125.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
Chris, thank you. That. Awesome. All right, when we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, great stuff, Craig. We'll have David Hellman on the Cowboys and also Paul's Top 5 in about an hour. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Speaking of BetUS, promo code SICKM125. If you are wondering why BetUS, BetUS has been serving clients for 25 plus years, prides himself on being known as America's favorite sports book with action on every sport across the world. They can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game, and BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer, and the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with articles, players, and team stats and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions possible. So go to BetUS.com today. Promo code SICKM125 for cash and SICKM200 for crypto. So if you've got crypto, that's a 200% bonus on your deposit of $100 or more, or 125% deposit on your deposit of $100 or more for cash. Promo code SICKM125 on BetUS.com.
So heirloom jewelry is something we like to specialize in here at Boozer Jewelers. You know, if you'll take a look in your jewelry box, I'm sure there's a lot of things in there that you don't wear or don't use. If you bring them into us, we can do several things with it. We can custom make you a new piece out of that jewelry. We can take and trade that towards maybe a new piece of jewelry, something you've had your eye on. Or we can even take and buy that jewelry from you, and then you can take and use that money towards a new piece of jewelry. But that way you're circulating your jewelry always. You're not just sitting there with the same 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 pieces, you're going to actually get to recycle and get new things without having so many things in your jewelry box. So take a look at your jewelry box, see what kind of jewelry you have in there, bring it into our family here at Boozer Jewelers, and let us try and help you do something with things that you don't wear or get to use, so that way you can get the most out of your family jewelry with our help.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, just I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgan Ford. Score big with Midway Football and Ford trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgan Ford has the perfect truck for you to drive to your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgan Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool. And a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Cole. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Here is Pollard all the way in for 6.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We're here for David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. Momentarily, a couple of NFL notes. Paul's best friend, Jameis Winston, last night was very, very good in a New Orleans Saints preseason game. It looks like he may have locked up the no, Sean Payton hasn't said that, quarterback job in New Orleans. Andy Dalton named the starter for the Bears, although Justin Fields has had what appears to be a really impressive preseason.
With the Saints, I don't know why you wouldn't, unless Jameis was just really bad. Keep it the way it was. Jameis is the starter, and Taysom Hill can do what he does. And then if Taysom Hill has to play, he can win games for it because he did last year. So I would keep it that way to leave Taysom Hill as the weapon that he is. If he's your starting quarterback, that kind of changes.
Yeah, I don't know if and I've been wrong. I don't know if Taysom Hill's a guy that is more valuable as your starting quarterback or as a Swiss Army knife.
No, he's definitely not as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
No. He is what he is. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He is a Swiss Army knife. That's how he will be used, I would imagine. He'll be a nice backup for Jameis, but Jameis pretty clearly is their quarterback after what we saw, in my opinion. And I think in pretty much everybody's opinion. And what a debut, or what a showing for Urban Meyer and the Jaguars in their game last night.
I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to die.
Yeah.
He took some hits. It was one scramble, picked up a first down. He took a couple of hits. He's going to have to be careful. There's how many running quarterbacks, even those who are elite, like even Lamar Jackson slows down a little bit. We've seen Cam. It's got him beat up. How many of them actually continue to run at that same level 3 to 5 years after they get in the league?
Not many. I mean, it takes a while. You take hits. You only have so many in your body, yeah.
David Ellman, DallasCowboys.com. I saw your note, David. They worked out. They had the practice outside. Is that right today? You had to go get maybe sweat bullets?
Yeah, we were outside today. And tell you what, Oxnard's a way better place to watch football practice than Frisco, Texas, I promise you.
Oh, Lord. 95 degrees compared to like 74 with a little cool breeze, right?
Yeah, and I think, I looked at my thing. The heat index said it felt like 102, which just tell me how it feels. Like, don't tell me what the temperature is. If it's 95 but it feels like 102, that's what I care about.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty miserable. Can't lie.
David, Jerry Jones today, came out with, his very pro-vaccination stance. They've had COVID issues with the Cowboys. Are they concerned that any of these guys are long-term outs, or is this just vaccinated guys that have gotten sick?
I don't get the vibe that it's a super long-term deal. I mean, they came out the other day and said 93% of their team is vaccinated, so if you do the math, that means that there's maybe only 6 or 7 guys that aren't. So I feel like if there's 4 guys out, I feel like the odds are that most of them are vaccinated, if not all of them. In fact, I think, it sounds like at least 1 or 2 of them will probably be able to come back tomorrow. So I don't think this is a long-term concern with most of these guys. But again, I mean, that's why the league is pushing vaccinations. Is obviously it's not a 100% guarantee to keep you from getting COVID, but even if you get it, you're talking about being gone for 1 day to a week instead of 10 days to 2-3 weeks.
David, what does the backup quarterback situation look like? Saw what Cooper Rush is going to start this weekend?
I don't know if he's going to start this weekend, but at the very least, he's going to get the first team reps in practice leading up to the game. So if he does well, it's a good guess that he'll start against Jacksonville. And he looked good today. He obviously looked good in the game on Saturday night. It's interesting because, man, this really hasn't felt like a competition to this point in camp. Garrett Gilbert got all of the first team reps for the entire time that we were out there once Dak hurt his shoulder. And that was, it just kind of looked like that was what it was going to be up until Cooper Rush entered the game on Saturday night and really made the most of his opportunity. So it's wild to think, like, if you had asked me on Saturday afternoon, I would have said, no doubt about it, Garrett Gilbert's going to be the backup quarterback for this team. But now it kind of looks like it's up in the air. So it'll be interesting to see how Cooper Rush takes this opportunity.
Okay, help me. Am I clueless, and everyone can raise their hand? So the last preseason games are this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then when does the season start? Is it like in a week and a half, 2 weeks? Yeah. Is it like an extra week this year between the preseason and regular season?
Yes. So they shortened the preseason. It's a whole. The Cowboys are going to play they're going to play 4 games because of the Hall of Fame game, but there's only 3 preseason games, and there's a gap now. Roster cuts used to happen Labor Day. Roster cuts have always happened Labor Day weekend, and the games right after that. But with the shortened preseason, everybody's going to be done playing their games by, I think, August 29th, and then cuts are due on the 31st. So from the time you make your final cuts to the time you play, I think the Cowboys will have 9 days, and the rest of the league will have, 12 or whatever because they play on Sunday. So there's way more time between cuts and the start of the season. And honestly, I really like it.
Me too.
It draws a clearer line between training camp and preseason and the regular season, and gives you a little more time to get your ducks in a row before the games start counting. So I'm a big fan of the change.
I am too. I guess I just missed that memo. They didn't call me, or I wasn't paying attention. But I just think that makes sense. You kind of have a chance to regroup. It used to be like a rush to the end. You cut people, you pick them up and play. And I do think this might maybe allow the first week or two to be better football as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, I agree. Like it almost felt anticlimactic. Like, you're starting your preparations for game week before your practice squad is even completely set because all of that dust hasn't settled. So I just think it'll be cleaner. I think it'll help teams as well as maybe help some players. And selfishly, I really love that roster cuts aren't going to be happening over Labor Day weekend anymore, because that was always a massive pain in the butt.
Yeah. David, Osa Odigizua. Now he's got a big opportunity. It looks he looked pretty good the other night against the Texans. I know that's not the best sample size, but has he moved himself maybe into the starting lineup?
I think so. And obviously a big part of that is because Neville Gallimore got hurt. But, everybody says injury creates opportunity, and Osa seems like he's running with it. That's a situation where, if he wasn't playing well, maybe you're like, oh, do we need to consider a trade? Do we need to look around at some veterans? Do we need to claim somebody else's guy when the cuts start happening? And then you look at Osa and you're like, we might actually be okay. This guy's got some juice to him. And, I think that's what we're seeing. Absolutely. Like, everybody's really amped about Micah Parsons, and rightfully so. But Osa Odigizua is like right there in the conversation in terms of like the most impressive rookie to this point in training camp. And, if you ask me right now, I think he's got a real shot to be one of your starting tackles for the season opener.
All right, so Micah Parsons drafted early. We hear about it, the build-up. He's a talker. He's a personality, obviously a hell of a player. And there were maybe a few things here and there, but is he better than you thought he would be, at least so far, knowing it's the preseason? But is he even better than you thought, seeing what you've seen so far?
I'm better. I want to be more specific, because obviously, like, he's so freakishly talented. I mean, you knew when you saw the guy run a 4.3 at like 6'3", 250, you realize that he's a really special athlete. I don't know about better, but I will say is I'm surprised and I'm impressed about how much they're doing with him. And that was my concern when they drafted him. I was like, are you drafting this guy to play off-ball linebacker? Because that feels like a waste of a top 12 pick. But if you're drafting him to play off-ball linebacker, rush the passer, and just kind of be an all-around hybrid, now we're talking. And that's what he looks like. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's calling the defense. He looks solid in coverage. He's a plus tackler, and he gets after the quarterback. I mean, that play he made on Saturday night where, he bulldozed Houston center and chased Tyrod Taylor to the sideline. It wasn't a sack. It's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but, those are game-changing types of plays. And so the amount of stuff that he is doing, 5 weeks into his NFL career is super, super encouraging.
How much of a bummer is it for Malik Hooker that he's now in the protocol after he's finally back at practice and seemingly picking things up well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer for us. We don't get to watch him. And, it's interesting, like, they didn't give Malik Hooker a ton of money. It's not like he's got a ton of job security, but I imagine that he's probably going to make this team. And so it sucks for him that he's missing out on this opportunity to get more reps and get more comfortable in the defense. Same thing goes for, Israel Mukwamu is another one. It's COVID found its way to the safety room, I guess. It seems like what happened. A guy like Mukwamu, that's really interesting because now he probably needs that tape in the final preseason game to give himself the best shot to make the team. And now it seems, that seems like it might be in jeopardy that he'd be available to play in that game. So, yeah, I mean, there's never a good time to contract a deadly virus, but the week before roster cuts doesn't seem like a great time to do it at all.
No, not at all. David, your thoughts? Your LSU Tigers, we always have to try to start squeezing one of these in as we get closer to the start of the season. I know there's a couple of weeks. Your thoughts about them in the bounce back year under Coach Orgeron?
I'm pissed, to be honest with you, because I didn't realize this. I've been busy with Cowboy stuff, but LSU opens their season at UCLA in the Rose Bowl. And I realized a couple days ago that UCLA is playing this weekend. They're playing Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's an NCAA rule that says, if you play Hawaii, you're allowed to start. Hawaii is allowed to start their season a week early because of the amount of travel that goes into coming to the mainland and all that. So UCLA is getting a warm-up game to get their stuff in order before they play LSU. And that makes me nervous. I don't like the idea of playing your first game in 9 months against somebody that got to play last week. So can't say I'm thrilled about that, but I think they should be. I think they'll be a lot better than people are probably giving them credit for. I think a lot of weird stuff happened last year. I don't think they were anywhere near as bad as the record implies. So I'm definitely very excited to get to watch them.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your time as always. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com on Tuesdays at 5. Cowboys play Jacksonville to close out the preseason this, Sunday at noon. And then open up against, who is it? Tampa Bay.
Yeah, remember kind of
the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, kind of the big facing the Super Bowl champs thing and not the Giants for the umpteenth year in a row.
So I'll tell you this, and nobody's going to pick the Cowboys to win that game. I mean, really. But the most Cowboys thing that they could do is go and beat the Bucs and then lose the next 2 or 3 games. That would be a very Cowboys thing to do.
That would be them. That would be on point.
They play at San Diego week 2?
Los Angeles, but yes.
Yeah, that's right.
But go out and waste the Super Bowl champions on the night the banner gets pulled up to to open the season. Just waste them. Just make Tom Brady look like he's 66 years old, and then Justin Herbert rips you a new one. I mean, and Justin Herbert's a good young player. I'm not saying he couldn't, but that's very Cowboys. That's kind of what they do. I think one of the first times you and I hung out together outside of work, we had a company Christmas party, and the Cowboys were playing the Saints, and the Saints were heavily favored. It's they're not going to win this game. And you said, no, they're going to. No. And they kicked the Saints' ass. Yeah. I mean, but then they did what they do. And
then they lost to a team that was 4-8 the next week or two. That's just who they are. And believe me, my God, if they do win the opening game, you might as well, if you're not a Cowboys fan. Well, it's hard to turn on the TV anyway because they understand. Put the star up. We're doing it right here. Look at that on the screen.
Yeah.
And people all over the place, right? Yeah. All right.
So I had some college football-wise I want to talk about. Reddit College Football put out their list of the top 50 media markets, and I know you mentioned –
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
You got your hair cut.
Yeah, they commented on it 2.5 hours ago.
I know, but I didn't notice it until now because I'm focused on that looks great. You feel better?
Yeah, I feel that's why I did it. I didn't do it to I felt fine with long hair, but it's just too hot. It's too hot.
No, it is. It's brutal right now.
And I had not had a legitimate haircut in well over a year. I had just done self, trimming and things like that because my hair was so long. But yeah, it got too hot and I needed to just change it up. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to grow it back out when it starts getting cold. So we'll see. But yeah, I did. So that was nice. But anyways, the top 50 markets, Reddit College Football put them together. And 37 of the top 50 markets are now in some way, form, or fashion tied into this new alliance.
Wow.
37 of the top 50 markets. The number 1 market in the country is New York. The number 50 market is New Orleans. So these are the only markets that aren't touched by the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC alliance. The number 5 market, Dallas. Mm-hmm. You got A&M in Texas.
Yeah.
Number 8, Houston. You got A&M, Texas, and LSU. So SEC's really kind of got those right there. Then you got to go all the way to 23 for St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So that's KU, right? KU they have
Kansas
dibs
City,
over all
St.
of Missouri.
Louis, Chicago,
yeah, that's KU territory. No, but yeah, Missouri's in the SEC. Then you got to go to Nashville. That's SEC country. Mm-hmm. San Antonio, which Texas and A&M will cover that. Kansas City. which, again, KU will claim,
Missouri, yeah.
but Missouri. Hartford and New Haven, the 33rd market in the country.
New Haven, really?
Hartford and New Haven.
Okay,
They're combined. So that's irrelevant. That's the most irrelevant city in this entire conversation. Las Vegas, 39. Austin, 40. So Las Vegas actually, though, does get touched by this because they're basically Pac-12, even though there's not a Nevada team, but they're mostly Pac-12. That's where they had their media days, right? Yeah. So you could actually count them. But then there's Austin at number 40, so that's UT, obviously. Oklahoma City at 43. Birmingham, the biggest college football market in the country, at 44. And then New Orleans, there you go, LSU at number 50. So 37 of the top 50 U.S. media markets are represented in this alliance. It's about 56% of television homes in this country. But then, the remaining 13 or so, those are pretty much all SEC for the most part. So this alliance and the SEC conference have basically, covered the top 50 markets. It's got into that Wiley, Connecticut market, although UConn tried that and it didn't work out so well.
Did you mention Orlando in there anywhere? So Dan Tipton just asked about Orlando. We're going to have a writer, Chris Benini, join us.
18th.
Yeah.
But that's Florida State.
Yeah.
And so and Miami.
Because they count, because Orlando's actually, no, it is.
I know.
It's counted as Orlando, Daytona, Melbourne, that whole area. But yeah, Orlando was on there at number 18. And they're counted as ACC in this little graphic.
Paul, they're losing that. They're slipping.
No kidding. But
so, that doesn't really...
They're losing a viewer in Waco. So.
Yeah, that's just of interest to me when you look at the television aspect of this and you see why this alliance makes tons of sense. They've got the top 4 markets in New York, LA, Chicago, and Philly. They've got 7 of the top 8 when you add in San Francisco and Washington, D.C. 9 of the top 10 of the top... There's got to be there had to be some conversations where I think this a chart like this probably got looked over and they realized, look, we could cover pretty much the entire country's top 100 markets between the 3 of us. And so I'm sure that'll come into play with contract negotiations in the future, even though that's a ways out for the ACC. But it is very soon for the Pac-12 and I believe the Big Ten as well, right? So... just something else to keep in mind.
A couple of notes on that from Matthew McCallum. St. Louis is not KU territory. We were making light of that because of Kansas City.
KU put out a graphic 2 weeks ago where they were basically laying claim to Kansas City as being like their town, basically, and saying how it was like right next door, and Missouri fans had a lot of fun with that. And so, that was just a joke.
Well, here's another one. St. Louis is right next to Columbia, so it's not even close.
John Waffle, H2P. $4.99. Please tell West Virginia fans they have no chance of joining the ACC. This today.
What's his picture?
And I am probably,
What's his picture there?
It says it's Pitt. But here's what I know. And Paul and Craig are smart enough to stay away. I go into that little chat room. Sometimes I don't come out alive, and sometimes some of you don't come out alive. But that has been one of the biggest discussions today.
Oh, yeah.
West Virginia fans and others who just don't want them or don't like them or want to. It has been nuclear today between so many, and it's great because everyone's talking, and I don't know I don't know what's going on.
I think if you're West Virginia, one thing that's got to be somewhat concerning to you, and maybe not. This is just me, riffing basically, but. In the case of Baylor and TCU and Tech, if one of them gets an offer, they're going to throw up the deuce to the other ones in 2 seconds and be out the door. But if there is no offer coming, then there is at least a little bit of a pact that you can work with, right? Like, hey, here's Texas Tech and TCU and Baylor, and you can add them all. Whereas with West Virginia, you kind of look around and
they're on their island.
There's not really any allies anywhere close to you. So if those former rivals turned potentially allies in the ACC want to say, you know what, the door is open, Mountaineers, come on in, that'd be fantastic. But, as the Pitt fan is saying there, that's not a guarantee at all. And if that's not an option, I don't know what happens. You hope the Big 12 stays together.
Kansas City, we know from the Big 12 basketball tournament when we've been there, and it's been a while, but Missouri and KU.
Yeah.
And then Nebraska has a nice setup in the St. Louis, Kansas City area, despite how irrelevant they have been among some others. But there's others. Those are, St. Louis is a pro sports town. That doesn't mean they don't have college football fans. Kansas City is a pro sports town, but they do have a very nice history of college athletics as well.
Do I have time for a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know what you guys think of if the Pac-12 and Big Ten and ACC come out on Friday, which is kind of what we're expecting now to proclaim what they're going to do about expansion. I'm actually leaning towards them not expanding now at this point in time based on the Pac-12 commissioner's comments, just as far as the markets we were looking at, and like we kind of cover all those now. And we just read off they've got 37 of the top 50. And look, Lubbock and Waco, they're not in here. Fort Worth is lumped in with Dallas, but I will maintain until I die that TCU does not have a massive impact on the Fort Worth market.
And Waco is lumped in with Bryan College Station, which would mean that's where Texas A&M is.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
listen,
it's like
Texas Tech and Baylor have strong alumni bases in Dallas and Houston, but they're not carrying those marks.
Right, no.
We know who does, Oklahoma, Texas, and the Texas A&M. But they have strong alumni bases, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, so that would lead you to believe that if they don't announce any new teams coming in the fold and the 8 are just stuck, it's time for expansion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me.
It's time for all out on the AAC or vice versa or whatever,
and the worst
right?
thing the Big 12 could hear, the 8 could hear, is them think, well, we're not really sure yet. And because that's one of those, I don't know if you've ever been in sales. You go to somebody, you propose, you sit down, you get to know them, what do they want? You go and give them a proposal, you send them a proposal, and you hear, well, I don't know. I'd rather have someone tell me no, because then I can move on or go back with something different rather than maybe. So in the case of a Pac-12 saying maybe later in the week, that doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? They might come out and announce that Tech and Oklahoma State are heading there on Friday. I mean, I have no idea what their plans are, but I see a lot of Pac-12 people and some who are very good reporters who are like basically eye wink like it's going to be nothing, you know? So if it's nothing, then those 8 are still stuck. And if the Pac-12, Big Ten, I mean, why would you expand after forming this alliance too, right? I mean, like, what would really be the point in all of that unless you just want even numbers? So, yeah, I mean, the Big 12's option, they're going to get that money from Texas and Oklahoma, but they're going to have to start actually adding some teams.
For those of you who joined us later or like recently, we have discussed the alliance to death. And we have also discussed and even played about 1:15 seconds of Dave Wanstead. And then we broke down a lot of what he said. We have great respect for him. He is a Fox analyst, but there was a lot of probably. There was a lot of no one actually who said it, but it was said. It was said. It wasn't Fox executive calling Dave Wanstead. We love the guy. Maybe get him on the show this week if we can. Reached out to him, but there was still nothing that you could grab onto. But it was an interesting day when it came to his comments as well.
And I know we got to go, but those comments by the Pac-12 commissioner about wanting to help out the Big 12, or at least not he didn't say we're not going to take a Big 12 team, but they basically said we want the Big 12 to do well. So I'm sure we'll learn more about that on Friday.
Of what that actually means. Yeah. It was actually the ACC.
Or the ACC.
It was Coach Jim Phillips from the ACC. Yeah, they're important. We hope they can. They're important for the Big 12. When we come back, Chris Vanini did a story in The Athletic. UCF has money, fans, and a new facilities plan in conference realignment. Will someone notice? That is next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe growing. Has been ever since they opened their doors in 1943. Think about that. They've been available since 1943, and they continue to thrive, building a brand new facility coming up. And it's, in fact, moving towards that right now on 12th Street and also, well, you know what I mean, Loop 340. This place is going to be a monster. There's all sorts of growth in Waco, and that's part of the growth as well. But right now, Pioneer Steel and Pipe, what they have is what you need when it comes to product to build things, heavy things, steel, pipe, metal, whatever. They'll deliver it. They'll unload it for you. And they'll do it and want you as a lifetime customer. And it's easy said than done. But 2 things you got to have. Great product, and you have to have great customer service. They've been in business since 1943. Think about all of what they have dealt with. The economy, the different parts of whatever's going on in America, COVID, and they continue to thrive. Steel, pipe, and metal. Since 1943, 2 locations, Waco and Bryan. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, pioneerboys.com.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red meat potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. My goodness, college football dominating so much of the last few weeks. Chris Vanini, we've had him on before, college football reporter for The Athletic. And he had a story today. UCF has money, fans, new facilities plan, and conference realignment. Will someone notice? Chris, thanks for your time. They're going to go into this overdrive and do all the things that they need to do. If all the teams out there that are not connected, not including whoever the hell is left of the Big 12, are they the most valuable of everybody, or is it Brigham Young or someone else?
It's probably BYU, but you have to deal with everything else that comes with that place, including not playing games on Sundays, the religious aspects that are unique to there. But this is largely focused on who's joining the Big 12 because it really seems like nobody else is going anywhere. The ACC, Pac-12, and Big 10 aren't going to add anybody, most likely. That's part of what this alliance announcement was, that they're not going to raid each other. And you kind of get the benefit of expansion without actually expanding if you're the Pac-12. So it's kind of looking at, all right, the Big 12's left at 8. Who are the candidates to join? BYU's probably at the top of that list from a financial perspective. Then you've got UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston are probably the ones otherwise on that list.
Chris, does it matter that they've got 3 Texas teams and Houston would be a 4th, or is it maybe just about how many alumni and how many bigger schools can I get into this?
Well, I think it's a factor. I mean, if you're Texas Tech, you're probably concerned about Houston coming into the Big 12 and being put on a level playing field because Houston's got all the facilities. It's got the obviously much better proximity to talent. At what point, if you're one of those other Texas schools, do you worry you're just inviting another school that could replace you or just kind of go ahead of you on the pecking order at some point? So that's a concern for sure. But I think that at the end of the day, the flip side is if Houston brings us the most television money, then Houston might be the best option for the conference.
Chris, what were your thoughts on the Alliance and their announcement today?
I thought it was largely meaningless for the moment. When this first kind of came out, I was saying this at the time. My colleague Nicole Auerbach was saying it at the time too, which is this wasn't really about scheduling. It's fun to talk about potential schedules and playing each other and stuff like that. But what this is really about is, hey, the SEC just dropped a bomb on us at a time when college sports are about to be completely reshaped here with NCAA changes. Let's, the 3 of us, get on the same page, promise not to poach each other, make sure ESPN and the SEC aren't moving all the pieces, and let's just slow this thing down. And that's largely what we got today. That's what they essentially said they were going to do. There's no contract that they signed because, especially when it comes to scheduling, there's nothing really you can do. They said they're not going to blow up game contracts. So most teams are scheduled out for the next 3 or 4 years. So you wouldn't even have much room anyway unless you change conference schedules. So scheduling stuff's not going to happen for a while. This is really about just announcing, hey, we're going to try to be on the same page here and make sure the SEC doesn't pull a fast one on us again.
With all due respect to whatever they announced today, do you feel like the SEC even realized they announced anything today?
It doesn't really change nothing for them. I think Greg Sankey released a statement to my colleague Andy Staples today, and in the announcement, they tried to say, hey, we want to work together, but we also know we want to work with other conferences. We want to work with the SEC and the Big 12 and the Group of 5 and everything. So this was a lot of hullabaloo for something that really is not going to be impactful to most fans at all.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm almost bored talking about it. Not with the good, legitimate questions and stuff like that, because I just never got much out of today at all. Like nothing other than, okay, maybe we were forced or felt forced. We had to say something, and really nothing ever came out.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is these 3 conferences were not on the playoff working group that came up with the 12-team proposal. It was the commissioners from the SEC, the Mountain West, and the Big 12. And now we find out that the SEC was working on this Texas-Oklahoma deal without telling anybody, without telling the Big 12, who was right there in the room. And so now they say, all right, what are potential other motivations for the SEC wanting this 12-team playoff? Part of it is, hey, if we do the college football playoff expansion in 2023, ESPN has exclusive negotiating rights. ESPN gets to continue to control everything. If you wait, push it out to 2026, Fox could get involved, maybe CBS, maybe NBC, maybe you have an NFL situation where 2 different TV partners split it up. Because the Big 10 and the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have deals with Fox, and they don't want ESPN to essentially become this kind of controlling everything in the sport when there's so much on the line, especially when now that they have full control of the SEC. So these leagues just kind of want to slow that all down.
Chris, what do you make of them not signing any kind of official contract with this alliance?
Well, it's largely because the most important stuff, the reason this was really done, you don't need a contract for it. And if you sign some sort of contract, it's going to have some sort of scheduling guarantees most likely. And those are things that these teams just can't commit to. Because, back in 2011, 2012, I want to say, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 came together in a scheduling agreement. They said they were going to play each other for every year. 7 months later, it went out the window because the Pac-12 was moving to 9 games. There was expansion going on, and it never really got off the track. So if you just want to say, hey, we want to kind of make sure we're talking to each other, you don't need a contract for that. And that's really all this is. The scheduling stuff is so far down the road anyway, you couldn't really guarantee it.
So, Chris, I saw Jim Phillips' explanation for why the Big 12 wasn't involved, and it makes sense. I mean, they're a conference that's in flux right now, and they don't have any flagship programs at the moment. What do you think today's events mean for the Big 12 moving forward? And obviously, they teased we're going to have something on expansion in the Pac-12 by the end of the week. I see a lot of people that assume that that's going to mean nothing, quite frankly, which would leave the 8 still sitting there. So what does this mean for Big 12 schools, if anything?
It doesn't change anything in the short term because, again, it wasn't really expected that any of those conferences would add any of the other Big 12 teams. What the biggest concern would be future scheduling down the road if the Big 12 is still together, 5 years down the road. If the Big 10 is going to play, 8 or 9 conference games plus a Pac-12 game plus an ACC game, you probably want a Group of 5 or FCS game in there or something. Then is the Big 12 going to get squeezed out of these type of games, or is the Big 12 going to have to turn to the SEC for a lot of its non-conference games? That's where I think it possibly comes into effect. But in the short term, it doesn't really make a difference because I don't think these conferences were going to grab any of the other Big 12 teams. But it's certainly essentially a slap in the face to just basically be like, you don't really matter at this moment for this, so we're not going to include you.
Yeah, the Big 12's used to it. They used to getting slapped around a little bit.
Yeah. And they're almost stuck right now. They're in this battle to try to save, to get money from two big dogs that are leaving, and also kind of stuck. If they start flirting with somebody else, they could be used against them. It's a weird deal. Chris, now the story is also obviously about UCF and what they've done. They've come on. It's not like they're brand new, but they are new when it comes to the national type exposure because of that team that's unbeaten and Dante Culpepper even back in the day. What do they think is the biggest issue they must correct when it comes to who they are and how people look at them as possibly a Power 5 school?
It's basically, as with any team that wants to get into the Big 12, it's do you provide TV value for the Big 12? That's going to be the ultimate decision. The Big 12 is going to add who adds to their pie. That's why the conference did not expand in 2016, because ESPN told them, hey, if you add any of these teams, it's going to decrease how much you're getting per school. And so they didn't do it. With Texas and Oklahoma out, Bob Bowlesby said that 24 or 28 million, whatever it is, in TV money is going to be cut in half at least. So you're talking quite a bit less. And at that point, does the UCF bring value in that? And there's reason to think they do. I put together the numbers in the story, and UCF games on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2 are averaging about 1.09 million viewers from 2018 to 2019, taking out last year being all weird. That's essentially the same as the Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma. So they are comparable in that aspect. They've also got an alumni base of they have an enrollment of 70,000. They have a growing alumni base. They have facilities. They have an athletic budget that's currently $73 million, which is not far behind Kansas State, which is the lowest in the Big 12. So they think that these things will help them in the long term, but they got to convince people right now that they provide value just financially.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your time. Chris Vanini, theathletic.com, National College Football writer. Craig, for your edification, pro wrestling tweets on top of that as well. We'll have Paul's top 5 here momentarily.
I think with the Pac-12 announcement on Friday, we'll find out for sure, obviously, but if the tea leaves being read are to be believed at this point in time, and Chris there as well did a great job of breaking it down. If you had to place money right now, are you saying they expand or they don't expand? I say they don't expand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say they don't expand, but I did hear him say something about who the Big 12 will add, which,
Right, which is what... Yeah, so if they don't expand, then that's what I asked earlier. I was like, they have to. If they don't, or if nobody gets an invite anywhere else, and Pac-12 comes out on Friday and says, "Hey, we're staying as is. We got this new alliance. We don't need to do all this crazy stuff, adding teams, splitting the pie." Okay, well, then the 8 are really truly the 8.
Yeah,
and they're not going to be anything other than the 8 anytime soon because nobody else is looking either. So, yeah, I think today's news, if anything, Friday will be the day. Friday will be the day that we know. But if you're a UCF fan or a BYU fan or a Cincinnati fan, I'm not telling you to get your hopes up or anything, but this could potentially be good news for you.
It's probably now. If it's going to happen, this could be it.
Unless it's just to kick the can down the road. From the 513, did you guys not watch the last 6 minutes of the news conference? Well, we've been on the air for the last 3 hours, but we appreciate it. ACC Commissioner all but said they weren't going to expand. West Virginia stuck in the Big 12. Hopefully, the alliance will allow the Big 12 to stay a Power 5 conference, and we did see that quite a bit from a lot of the discussion and Cliff Notes or whatever else. One question I still ask, minus Oklahoma and Texas, as well as strong rumors, West Virginia going to the ACC. We just had something about that. Does Cincy or UCF want to go to the new Big 12 long term? Here's one of the things that you have this seesaw. You have the Big 8 or Big 12 with the 8 remaining teams, and you have this AAC and these others. I don't know if either one of them have leverage, no matter what. Right? It's an ego thing right now, but I don't know. And that is like the next thing to pop. Is what happens? Does the AAC expand? It appears as ESPN may have screwed that up if there's anything that they have that's concrete evidence, which Bob Bowlesby says he does, or does the 8 remaining teams, do they have enough? Find a way to add 2 or 4 teams.
They have the contract. They have the TV contract for at least the next few years. So.
They do. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5 at 5:55. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, cigars galore, 48-foot walk-in humidor, and one of the cigars inside of their humidor is the Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. It is a spectacular cigar, highly rated, accolades from reviewers and regular smokers alike, medium to full-bodied cigars, result of the collaboration with cigar makers from Romeo and Julieta, one of the great brands, and Monte Cristo, yet another one. Made from Nicaraguan, or in Nicaragua. These cigars are just really, really good. Cocoa, hay, and black pepper. Got a little bit of that, little bit of a zip to it if you're interested. Cuatro Nicaragua from Aging Room, available inside the 48-foot walk-in humidor. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne, ask them, tell them Smokey sent you. They have great cigars. Oliva's another one. Padron, of course. Cohiba, one of my favorites. Rocky Patel, and Macanudo. There's another one. So, if you want cigars, if you smoke cigars, go to Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center. They have CBD products and fresh coffee beans as well. They'll ground them right there in front of you. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Make this a summer event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $6,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $2,000 in bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked #1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
It It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
All right. Thanks to Slapsticks. By the way, before I forget, happy 15th birthday to my nephew, Luke. He's 15 today.
Well, I mean, I guess he is if he's 15th anniversary.
Yeah, so anyway, but happy
good
birthday.
for Luke. Happy birthday to Luke.
All right, top 5 impact first-year head coaches. Guys I think will make an instant impact. And it may not be all of a sudden this team's a conference contender, but you're going to see good things from these coaches and different things for the teams in year one. Number 5, our good buddy Blake Anderson jumps from Arkansas State to Utah State, Hubbard, Texas native.
Replaced Matt Wells, right?
Yeah, and I think he'll, he replaced Gary Anderson.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So replace Gary Anderson. I think he'll make an instant impact there at Utah State, and I think Blake Anderson is a guy on the rise who will be at an FB. Not an FBS,
he was at Baylor at one point, right?
He's going to be at a Power 5 school soon, yeah.
And Hubbard, Texas is like within an hour down the road east of Waco. We've had him on before. Of course, he went through the tragedy, lost his wife to battle of cancer.
inappropriate time for me to chuckle there. I was thinking of something else entirely in my mind. Sorry.
He's a fiery guy, man. I think, and it's a pretty good place for him to be.
Sorry, I was thinking of the last time we talked to him. He was none too happy about William Bradley King transferring to Baylor. And that was what popped in my head because that's the last time we've heard from him. And he was gracious about it, but he was not happy about it.
He was funny about it. He was funny about it. Number 4, Josh Heupel at Tennessee. I for one think Josh Heupel is a coach who can help Tennessee get their head out of their ass. I mean, and that's what's been going on there for 20 years now. Tennessee's head is squarely between its legs. I mean, that's where it is.
Well, the last UCF
what a
coach
description.
I mean, Tennessee fans, am I wrong?
No, the last UCF coach to go make a move like that has not worked out very well. Josh Heupel, you wonder if he becomes part of a trend or if he's going to be the guy to kind of break through. But, man, he's got a lot to clean up at Tennessee. It's only going to get tougher now, too. OU and Texas coming along the pipeline. And, we'll see. I mean, he was good at UCF, but so was Scott Frost.
They have the greatest fight song, though. I think they have. Rocky Top is, for some reason, I can't stop singing it once I hear it.
I'll say this, though. The bigger hire for Tennessee wasn't Josh Heupel. It was UCF AD Danny White.
Yeah.
Danny White is there at Tennessee. This is the first, big-time AD they've had in a long time. I think he's going to do well there.
All right.
Number 3, Brian Harsin at Auburn. Auburn fans, they've got a complex, and why wouldn't you? Your biggest rival is the, college football Vatican in Alabama. But I think Brian Harsin can steady things out there. And the next coach on this list is the guy he replaced. But I like the Brian Harsin hire at Auburn. I think it's steady. I think that's really kind of what they need right now is somebody who's going to be steady and get them to be
once
consistent.
Texas and Baylor faced him, did they not, in a bowl game? Was it Brian Harsin?
Yeah, Boise State, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, and number 2, Gus Malzahn at UCF. Look, this is a great place for Gus. Again, Gus has won. Gus has been in national championship games. He's a good coach. I think he's maybe wasn't the fit at Auburn anymore, but Auburn gets tired of people really quick. This is a school that's growing and could wind up in a Power 5 conference maybe by Friday, for God's sakes. Yeah. But if that happens, then Gus Malzahn has no reason to leave UCF, and he can kind of chill there for a little while.
Well, if they did enter the Big 12, would he be the only coach with a national title?
God.
Would he?
Yeah. I mean, now that
I think so, right?
Chris Kleiman at North Dakota State, but we had
Division I national title. Yeah. I think this is going to be like Sonny Dykes to SMU as far as just he doesn't have nearly the pressure that he had. He can, the name, image, likeness stuff in Orlando, they can do a lot with that. UCF is an interesting team, and obviously the one coach after the other has gone there and had success. So I'd be surprised if Gus Malzahn was the one to go there and not have success.
This is someone on the comeback trail where Frost and Heupel were on their way up, or at least we thought.
All right. And another guy on the comeback trail, Steve Sarkisian at Texas, number 1. I think just on offensive principle alone, Texas is going to be a little bit better, or at least a little bit more consistent. They might wind up having a similar record to last year because they may not have what they need right now, but I think Texas better in year 1, at least looking forward with Steve Sarkisian.
Most of those who we've had on or who cover, it seemed like they're pretty reasonable, not expecting them to go 13-0 because the expectations in Austin can be nuts. I think, Jeff Howell last week said he thought that ceiling was between 7 and 9, which is reasonable. I like him. We had him at Big 12 Media Days. Lincoln Riley, we like him too. But there's something about Steve Sarkisian. I like the guy. I wish him the best. I know he's had to bounce back. Who hasn't? And I hope he is given time to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, he had a much different tone and tenor than Tom Herman did. Tom Herman just was kind of a goofball out of the gates, kind of a weird guy. Sark was he was cool. I enjoyed talking to him. I think he's going to be really successful there. I don't know about titles and all of that, but I think he's going to win a lot of games.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Those who called, those who have been on the chat room, those who texted, and, of course, our great sponsors every single day on all the various media outlets. We're online. We have the app. We're also on YouTube and Twitter and much more. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Also, thanks to Hayden Bumpus, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims. I'm David Smoak. Back at it tomorrow. We're going to have head coaches at UT San Antonio and Coastal Carolina and more. Sikkim 365 Radio. Good night.
MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.